Richard Graves and his wife Catherine Boland are suing Richard's son, 26-year-old Timothy Graves, for attorney fees, as well as anger management and AA classes.
Order. All rise. Now it's case number 561 on the calendar in the matter of Graves, Boland versus Graves. You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Mr. Graves, this is your son.
Correct.
And you are?
His stepmother.
How long have the two of you been married?
6 years.
What kind of work do you do, Mr. Graves?
I'm a facility manager.
And you?
I'm a human resources manager.
Who else lives in your home with you?
No one else.
And how old are you, Mr. Graves?
26.
You got yourself into trouble. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Your father says that he paid for attorneys for you on 2 separate occasions. One because you got yourself into trouble, and the next time because you wanted to see your son. You have a son.
I have a daughter.
A daughter. And there was a problem with visitation. So your father and stepmother helped you get a lawyer. He wants that money back. And he says he paid for anger management classes, which were a condition of your probation, even though that was a minor amount of money. I think you just threw it in. It was something like $65. You've probably spent more on him at dinner.
True, very true.
Right. Okay. Mr. Graves, why don't you tell me about the first instance where you retained an attorney for your son?
Timothy was arrested on a violation of a restraining order and tried twice to gain a release.
When was that, Mr. Graves?
April, I think, or March, somewhere around there.
It was March 19th, and he was trying to get bail and was denied bail once. And
Denied any bail?
Denied bail.
Is this the first time you've been arrested for domestic violence?
Yes.
Was it a bad case of domestic violence?
No, ma'am.
And they would not set bail for you?
No, they wouldn't. Long story, no, they wouldn't.
Well, give me the cliff notes of the long story.
The judge I was going in front of wouldn't release anybody on a violation of a protective order charge because he had released somebody on a violation of a protective order charge, and they went back to their wife or something like that.
And killed him?
Yes, ma'am.
You only burned him once.
That's all he had to do.
So you were released when, was it your girlfriend?
Yes.
Filed for a protective order, but then when she alleged that you violated the protective order, he said, okay. What was the nature of the alleged violation, Mr. Graves?
Me and her got into an argument over the phone.
Over the phone? So
over the phone.
She alleged that you threatened her over the phone in
Yes.
violation of the order. What'd you call her for? It's not an answer.
I was over at my friend's house, and we were just talking, and I just found something out, and I didn't like it, so I called her and confronted her about it. She really didn't like that.
Well, because it's a violation of the protective order.
Yes.
Right. That's why the judge didn't let you out. So you tried twice to get bail, and you were twice denied bail. Then what happened? Look at me.
My father basically took it upon himself to get me out.
You didn't have a discussion with him?
I talked to him several times while I was in jail, and
Did you at any time say to him, do something, help me?
I had said help me, but he once again told me to go forth with the public defender, and it just wasn't working.
And so you didn't have a subsequent conversation with him?
About
Did
getting
he?
me out.
Yes, the public defender tried for the second time to gain bail and was denied. And at that point, I imagine it looked hopeless in his opinion, and literally begged me, calling from jail, to please hire an attorney to get me out of here. I need to get out of here. Please do whatever you have to do to get me out of here.
And?
And I made that understanding very clear at the time. My wife was on the extension that if I do this, this will just be a loan. I'm not giving you this money. Pretty much if it was up to me, I would let you stay in jail to learn the lesson. So that was the condition.
Is that what you said to him?
Yes.
And what did he say to you?
Anything you can do to get me out.
When your father retained the attorney for you, Mr. Graves, was the attorney successful in securing bail for you?
Yes, ma'am.
How much?
I'm not sure of the amount. I don't know the
Who
amount.
posted it?
I guess my father did.
There was no bail. It was a habeas corpus trial, and it was released.
So that despite the fact that the judge said, I'm not setting bail for you, the judge is required to set reasonable bail in order to secure your appearance. So the judge got his wrist slapped, right?
Yes.
Whatever happened with that case, Mr. Graves?
It was went through with court and everything, and I got put on probation, and it was dropped. I think I actually got time served.
Listen, if it goes through court and everything and you were put on probation, then it's not dropped. If you put on probation, it's because you were convicted. Either you were convicted after a plea or you were convicted after a trial. Did you take a plea?
No, the second degree assault, the first charge, why I got put on a restraining order, that I got put on probation for. The violation of protective order, I got time served. That's done and over with.
So you assaulted your girlfriend?
In the sense, yes.
How many senses of assault are there?
There's a wide range.
Well, give me your range.
A cell phone at the ground and it bounces up and hit her.
Is that what she says happened or what you said happened?
That's exactly what happened.
Listen to me. Is that what she claimed?
Yes.
And how injured was she?
Not really. Any scratch on the head. Our daughter was in her room. That was the main problem.
How old is her daughter?
Our daughter's 18 months now.
So you threw a cell phone at her, you hit her in the head, and she got a gash, and your 18-month-old daughter was in the room.
Sleeping, yes.
Pretty much.
Pretty much.
And then you heard something else that you didn't like, so you called and threatened her.
Yes.
And then she said to you, you're not getting visitation with this child because you have a bad temper.
No.
Well, an attorney was necessary in order to secure you visitation with your daughter, is that right?
Yes.
If your girlfriend wasn't complaining about your conduct, there wouldn't have been need for an attorney. You could have arranged for visitation without the necessity of having an attorney.
That's what we had.
That's what you had what?
That's what me and her had. Even after I got released, I had my daughter every weekend.
And then what happened?
We just had a falling out, and it got to where it needed to go, where I had to go to court.
Do you have visitation now, Mr. Graves?
Yes, ma'am.
When?
I have her every single day during the week and every other weekend.
Is that because you work nights?
Yes, ma'am.
And child's mother works days?
Yep.
And that's by court order?
Yeah.
And that was secured for you through the attorney that your father paid for?
This is, well, yes, but me and my ex came to an agreement outside of court.
It was secured by virtue of an attorney
Yes.
that your father got for you.
Yes.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Richard Graves says his son, Timothy Graves, owes for attorney fees from 2 separate arrests.
Okay, how did it come about that your father got you that attorney?
Because he saw that it was,
Don't tell me what he saw. There had to be a conversation.
we talked about it,
Well, that's what I'm asking you. What was the conversation?
that I had to do whatever I had to do to get my daughter.
Well, what was it that you had to do, Mr. Graves?
I had to go through court.
Right. And?
I had to hire a lawyer.
And?
He knew that I didn't have the money to
Don't
pay
tell
for
me
a
what
lawyer.
he knew.
I didn't have the money to pay for a lawyer.
So what did you say to him?
I need your help.
And what did he say to you?
Okay.
Now, Mr. Graves, first tell me when this was that you advanced money for the second lawyer.
This was on June 8th.
Had he paid you back any of the money that he owed you for the first lawyer?
Partially, yes.
He did?
Yes.
How much did he pay you?
$315.
What did you pay him the $315 for, Mr.
I
Graves?
never had any recollection that I paid him the $315.
Well, tell me what you claim he said to you with regard to paying you back for the second lawyer.
We actually found that lawyer as a reference from the first lawyer that was hired. Timothy and I went to his office and sat down and gave him an overview of the case. And I asked Timothy, is this the person you want to hire? And he said, yes. I said, you realize that this is just going to add to what you owe me.
How much was the second lawyer, sir?
All told, $3,000.
What do you mean all told?
There was an initial $2,000 retainer that I put down in June, and then later on there was another $1,000 they requested.
And how much did he still owe you from the first lawyer?
$300.
So he owes you $3,300,
Correct.
not $3,360.
The 60 was for the anger
Management class.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I paid for the anger management classes out of my own pocket.
I'm asking you about the lawyers.
He knew my financial situation. He knew I didn't have any money to pay for any lawyers whatsoever. But it kind of came up as it's their granddaughter too. If I don't get to see her, they don't get to see her. I figure that's why they were helping me.
Are you working now, Mr. Graves?
Yes, ma'am.
Did your father throw a telephone at your girlfriend in front of your daughter?
No.
Did your father pick up the phone when he wasn't supposed to make contact with your girlfriend and threaten her?
No.
Was it because of your father's conduct that you were denied any kind of visitation with your daughter?
No.
Whose fault was it?
It's all mine.
Judge for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,300. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think it was a little unfair.
It's exactly what we were looking for Judge Judy to let him know this is what you need to do in life.
It's all settled. I want to get our relationship on and continue on and move on.
I'm hoping we can put this behind us, move on.
We can be a father and son.
Don't lend money to any member of your family that you're not willing to lose.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Turner versus Cisneros, Vu, Mesa, step forward.
19-year-old Damel Turner is suing his former roommates, Chris Cisneros, Sarah Vu, and Mackenzie Mesa for breaking their apartment lease.
Mr. Turner, which one of these young ladies was your girlfriend?
The one on the far left.
That would be you. You are Miss Mesa?
Yes.
According to your complaint, you and your girlfriend and the co-defendant and his girlfriend, also co-defendants, you all decided to set up housekeeping together and lease an apartment.
Yes, ma'am.
You moved in with your girlfriend, he moved in with his girlfriend, and you all signed the lease.
Yes, ma'am.
And then very slowly, one by one, they all took off.
Yes, ma'am.
Did that give you any cause to pause, Mr. Turner, that there might be something wrong with you? Is not an answer.
No, ma'am.
There was never any indication that something was wrong with your behavior.
No, ma'am.
Seems odd, doesn't it, that they all moved out and left you there alone?
Yes, ma'am.
In any event, your lawsuit wants them to be responsible for the rent for the remainder of the lease and for when they left. And they say it was because of your conduct that they all left, that there were problems in the apartment precipitated by your behavior. And they're counterclaiming because they say that there is some property that was in the apartment and they want moving expenses, which you're not going to get. You're lucky if you don't get hit with rent. Don't be stupid about your moving expenses. When did you sign the lease, Mr. Turner?
June 21st of 2008.
Was it a year's lease?
Yes, ma'am.
How long had you and Miss Mesa been dating?
A year and a half now.
Had you lived together previously?
No.
Were you working?
Yes.
Had you been friends with them as a couple, or were you friendly with one of them?
I knew Daymel from work.
What work?
We work at a Round Table pizza place.
When did you move out?
I moved out in, the 1st of January this year.
Where did you go?
I moved in with my father at his place.
And when did you move out, Miss Vu?
The second to last week of November.
Why did you move out?
Chris and I broke up a few days before our 4-year anniversary.
Now, when you moved out, who paid November's rent, your share of November's rent?
I had already paid my share of November's rent, and because I was moving out on such short notice, I gave Chris my share of December's rent in cash.
Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So you fully paid for December.
Yes.
When did you move out?
I moved out at the end of November.
Why?
I moved out because I felt that
Look at me, don't look over there.
I felt that it was not a good environment for me to be in at the time, and
Like what?
Well, my schoolwork was going down. I was depressed. My family was asking me to come home, and I felt that that would be a better environment for me.
I don't hear anybody talking about his bad behavior. You had a lot to say in your answer.
Well, one night, especially like where I felt like it was like definitely a sign that it wasn't a good place to be at anymore, was a week before Chris and I broke up. We were all like hanging out at our apartment, and we had friends over, and it was probably really late, like really early in the morning, around 2. We were hungry, and so we decided all to go get something
Could
to
we
eat.
get to it, please?
And
I have places to go.
Mackenzie wanted to come with us, and Daymel decided not to let her, but and she went anyways, and so he was really angry. When we got back with the food, we were all sitting on the couch eating, and Mackenzie was sitting on the edge of the armchair, and Daymel came out and was like lecturing her, and she rolled her eyes, and so he walked up to her, grabbed her by the neck, and threw her down onto the ground from the armchair of the couch.
That was in November. Mm-hmm. Did that happen, Miss Mesa?
Yeah, to an extent that happened. We did have our fights where they would escalate sometimes.
I can understand fights escalating. I don't understand physical violence during an argument. Did you do that, Mr. Turner?
No, what happened was,
Listen, I don't want to go through the food and the couch again. Did you put your hands on her?
yes, I shoved her.
Well, you can't do that.
I know. What happened is
How much after that did she leave?
that actually happened in October, and she left at the end of November. It was because we were having a party, and like we all had like a couple of drinks, and
I don't care why.
okay. What happened was that I came and yelled at Mackenzie's like, "Why'd you leave? We're supposed to."
I don't care.
Okay.
You can't put your hands on anybody. Was that the first time he ever put his hands on you?
No.
Was it the last time he put his hands on you?
Yes.
All right. So far, the two of you are responsible for rent, because you can't just leave. Being unhappy with your environment is not a reason for you to break a lease. Breaking up with your boyfriend is not a reason for you to break your lease. Now, you left in January. Mm-hmm. Did you pay January's rent?
I did not pay January's rent.
And you left when?
I left it, I would say, the 1st of January.
What kind of discussion did you have with Mr. Turner about the rent on the apartment?
The beginning of December, I told him that I wasn't going to be able to pay January, and that I was going to go and tell the office that it was, time for me to leave. I was going to put in my notice. Daymel asked me if I could give him the notice and wait till he got a roommate, and then put in my notice at the beginning of January.
Did you have that discussion with him?
No, ma'am. He told me he was going to move to Australia with his brother, that he was going to keep paying rent until he decides on what he was doing.
Well, that was back in December. That's what he's saying. And he said that you had that discussion.
Yeah, this is December, but it's getting close to January, and he's told me that he's going to still keep paying rent until he figure out what he was going to do. He never ever gave me any formal or told me exactly when he was going to leave or ever went to the office and let them know either. So I can never actually get a roommate because they're all still on the lease, and the apartment won't let me put a new person on the lease until they're all off the lease.
Did you take your names off the lease?
I had signed the paper to get my name off of the lease, but I don't think it ever went through because I needed signatures from everyone else as well.
What about you?
At this point, when I went to go try and get...
The answer is either yes or no.
Yeah, but Damel's the only one who can sign us off.
Did you get your name off the lease?
No.
What about you?
Nope, still there.
Fine. So they owe January and February so far. How much is your share of the rent?
$283,725.
And how much were you paying in rent?
$286.
And you?
$286.75.
You each owe him $858. January, February, and I'm throwing in March. Yours is less. $849. By the end of March, sir, if you don't have roommates, I suggest you do something else. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, moving expenses on your counterclaim is out. You moved, so who cares if you move? Only he cares if you move. What property do you have there?
A queen-size mattress, a CD cabinet, a shelf, and a stereo.
Is it still there?
Yes, ma'am.
When do you want to get it out?
ASAP.
Fine, within 5 days?
Yes, that's fine with me.
Anything else?
I had a rice cooker.
Why didn't you take it with you in November?
Because...
It's not an answer.
all our things were still mixed up together, and I couldn't find it at that time. And when I went back to get it later, Damel had already changed the locks on the apartment.
When you pick up the rest of your stuff, pick up her rice maker. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Case number 559 on the calendar in the matter of Howie versus Revels. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Mr. Howie, how long have you and your wife been married?
4 years, going on 5 years.
And you have one child?
Yes, ma'am.
How old?
Our child is 4 months old.
Defendant is your former girlfriend. You have a child with her who is now 12 years old. Is
Yes,
that
ma'am.
right?
Yes, ma'am.
You and your wife get along?
Yes, very much.
You may have to tell her to butt out of your business. That's going to be a hard thing for you to do.
Yes, ma'am.
But I read your complaint, and that's eventually what you're going to have to tell her to do. Butt out. Because this is your complaint, which I have a sense that would not have been brought were it not for your wife. You were moving from one location to another.
Yes, ma'am.
The defendant moved into your old place. Is that right?
That's correct.
And there was some furniture there. According to your wife, because she wrote the complaint, you loaned her the furniture, said you could use it. And then you left and you moved to your new location, where you still reside.
Yes, ma'am.
And you also left the cable on in your name.
That's correct, in Kristen's name, my wife.
And she said she would take care of switching it over. You eventually did switch it over, and there was a cable bill for a couple of months. How many months?
It's 2 months.
Which is how much?
$367.57 from the collections.
Right. From collection.
From the collections, now because now it's in collections.
Some of that was her bill.
Don't speak! And you want the furniture back. Now, there's some convoluted story that you went there and didn't take the furniture back, left it there, and now she hasn't returned it to you and you've asked for it.
Yes.
But this whole thing came about because probably your wife had a baby. There was a lot of money going out. You haven't paid child support in a while. They're taking your tax return.
Yes, ma'am.
So your wife said, now you're going to sue her for the furniture. That be a fair statement, Mr. Howie?
It's pretty close.
It's pretty close. You don't have to be a genius to figure that out, sir. That's why you have to tell your wife to back off. This 12-year-old child has nothing to do with her.
Exactly.
Nothing to do with her. And anything that's done since I assume that for 12 years or 11 years, before you got involved with her, before you made another baby with her, everything was okay with Miss Revels and your child.
Absolutely.
You enjoyed a reasonable relationship. You even asked her to move in. There was no animus for a very long time.
No, I'm not saying that. This has nothing to do with my 12-year-old daughter, though. This has to do
It has everything to do with your 12-year-old daughter, sir. You go to court when you haven't paid child support because you have a new baby.
Well, I will pay mine.
And you have new responsibility. Before you had a new baby, a new responsibility. and a new wife. You paid your child support when you were supposed to. You did what you were supposed to. You lived close to your child.
Yep.
You know, I could write this book even though it's not in here, Mr. Howie.
Oh, listen,
I've been in family court for a very long time, sir. That's what happened. You had a wonderful relationship with your child. You had a decent relationship with the defendant. You paid your child support when you were supposed to. You decided to have a new life. You married this lady. You and your wife decided to have a new child. And then all of a sudden, new wife says, money's going out. That's not fair.
Your Honor, I mean, with all due respect, she owes the money.
The cable bill's
That
in
has
my
nothing to
name.
do with
Listen
it.
to me. I'm not talking about the cable bill. I'm talking about the furniture. The cable bill she knows she owes, right?
Yes, you're right.
So she doesn't owe me for the furniture because I owe her child
Mr.
support?
Howie.
I mean, she can't
Mr.
have
Howie,
both, right?
I don't think she agreed to buy the furniture.
You're right, she didn't, but where's it at? She
Just
never
a
gave
second.
it to us.
I don't think she agreed to buy the furniture. If you say, I sold her the furniture for $500 and she didn't pay it, that's a different story. That's not what you say here. And what I'm trying to tell you, Mr. Howie, is you're going to have to tell your wife to back off, that it's none of her business.
Well, the furniture was my doing. That's me, it's my furniture.
You can't have it back.
Well, shouldn't I
You
be
can't have
compensated?
it
I don't
back.
want it back. I just want to be compensated
You're
for it.
not going to get compensated for it. You're not going to get money from her for it, especially if you tell me I don't want it back. Say, I don't want it back.
We tried getting it back. It's gone.
Your Honor, they have not.
Just a second. Especially if you tell me I don't want it back. I want to be compensated for it. When was the last
Well,
time?
I'll take it back if
Hey,
you give it back to me. But
We've tried to get it back 2 times.
This has nothing to do with you. The cable bill was in your name. You're going to get paid. Other than that, it has nothing to do with you. This 12-year-old has nothing to do with you.
I'm not following the relevance of my daughter in this.
That's because you're a moron.
Okay. Okay.
That's because you're a moron. If you're standing on one side of a council table and the mother of your child is standing on the other side of a council table, that's not good for your child.
Exactly.
You don't get that. And if you don't get that, you're a moron.
Okay.
Now you get it.
Sure.
And if you didn't pay child support because according to your wife, let me read you what she wrote. Due to our financial stresses, John got behind in his child support payments, and the government is now keeping our tax refund that we would have received in April of '09. That's what they're supposed to do.
Right.
They're supposed to keep your refund if you get behind. Why did you get
Exactly.
behind, Mr. Howie?
Because she had been taken off of work because of her pregnancy.
That's not her problem.
I agree.
Just a
It's not
second.
her problem.
That's not her problem. That's not your 12-year-old daughter's problem.
You're right.
That you made a new baby. If you can't afford to have 2 children, only have 1. And if you can't afford to have 1, you don't have 14. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am, I understand.
It's very nice to want to have another baby. You don't have another baby unless you can afford it. And one of the things that happens when you have a baby, the mother sometimes has to take time off from work. She doesn't feel well. Sometimes she takes maternity leave. You don't have 2 incomes anymore. And all of a sudden you have to make choices. And the choice that you made was not to send your 12-year-old daughter child support. That's unacceptable, sir. And because you got PO'd, because they advised you that your tax return was being
No,
paid,
that
you're
had
not
nothing to
getting
do
your
with it.
furniture
Absolutely had
back.
nothing to do with it.
Your wife is getting her cable bill paid because that you owe her.
So she gets to keep all my stuff and get her child support? I mean, can't we have an equilibrium here?
Your Honor.
Yeah, you
Can't it be
just had an
balanced?
equilibrium. I made you an equilibrium. If you don't understand it, that's your problem. Put your
So
hand down.
She gets the world and I get
Put your
nothing.
hand down.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. John and Kristen Howie claim the mother of John's child, Leela Revels, owes for a cable bill and for the value of missing belongings.
Mr. Howie, how much do you pay in child support?
$266.
$266 a week?
A month.
A month. Let's figure that out.
Which we never get.
Get him out of here, please. He's useless. Okay, Mr. Howie, let me tell you what your super generous child support to your daughter generates. $8 a day. I don't feed my 2 dogs on $8 a day. You get it?
Yeah, I get it.
You get it? You don't pay child support for this child. You pay a token of what it costs to raise a 12-year-old. You can't buy a pair of sneakers and a pair of jeans and an outfit to go to school. You can't feed a child for $8 a day. So your $8 a day is a token. What it says is, I know I'm your father, and I know I can't support you adequately, but I have to do something, so here's my $8 a day. Do you get it, sir?
I understand what you're saying.
And you don't even pay that. You have some gall standing there. You really do. You have some gall standing there, and I'm telling you, there's going to have to come a time when you're going to have to find yours and tell her to stay out of your business. Do you understand, Mr. Howard?
Yes, ma'am.
Go looking for them. We understand each other? You get your $367 for a cable bill. Period. End of discussion. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She painted a pretty ugly picture, you know, the judge did, but I mean, it's her ruling, so we got to go with it.
Maybe he'll start paying some child support.
I understand I owe her a lot in child support, and I do plan on paying that back.
We tried to get the furniture back a lot of times, but it was never there for us to get it.
It's all there. We're still sitting on the couch to this day.
They lied and said we didn't even try to get it.
I didn't even know that was a problem until not too long ago.
It's all said and done, so let's just, you know, have a short memory of this incident and forget about it.
I would hope, you know, we all could get along, and I hope this doesn't, you know, affect anything.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Byers versus Byers, step forward.
James Byers is suing his son, Gabriel Byers, for the return of money he gave him for safekeeping.
Mr. Byers, this is your son. According to your complaint, several years ago, you left some money in an account for him that he was just sort of keep in case of emergencies. It's your claim that that was $5,000. You want your money back. Your son's defense to that is you told him that he could replenish that account whenever he had extra money, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I have a few questions for you because I found some things interesting in your complaint and some things interesting in your answer. First, Mr. Byers, show me where you got the money from to put in an account in your son's name.
From working.
No, show me the account. Where you got the money from, transfer, whatever.
There you have the cashier's check and a copy of the canceled cashier's check.
And that was in November of 2005.
Right.
And did you have any formal agreement with your son in writing with regard to this money?
No, I didn't.
Now, I've read in your son's answer that you and his mother were divorced.
Yes, we are.
And there were 2 children.
There are 3.
3 children. And there was a period of time when you were in substantial noncompliance with a child support order. Is that correct?
That's true.
And that arrears had accrued for at least 2 of your children. A daughter. Is that correct?
That is not correct.
A son.
Just a son.
I'm quoting your son's answer. He was trying to get a job at the time, and I told my mother that he had changed, and now that I was grown, to let it go. She signed off on approximately $60,000 that he owed her. My mother called me very upset over his second attempt to get his back child support cleared again, and I had had it. So is that for the same child, sir?
I really
not an
don't know.
answer.
I really don't know what he's saying there.
Well,
I have no
I'm
idea.
asking you questions, sir. In what year did you have your former wife sign off and say she no longer wanted to collect $60,000 from you in back child support? In what year was that?
I have no idea.
What year, sir?
Sorry, I don't remember exactly.
Well, figure it out as closely as you can. Otherwise, I'll call your mother.
It was 2004, maybe.
So it was about the same time that your father gave you a check for $5,000. Is that correct?
That check came some years later.
No. That check came in 2005.
Okay, then the child support thing happened maybe a couple years before that then.
Who was the child support for?
The child support that was signed off on was for myself and my brother.
How old is your brother?
He is 40.
And when were they coming after your father for this back child support, or was your mother coming after him for the
I guess my mother was coming after him about it.
And she signed off on it?
After I talked to her about it, yes.
Right, and then you got a check for $5,000 from your father?
Yes, I did.
Why do you think that your former wife signed off on $60,000 worth of back child support?
Your Honor, I have no knowledge of her signing off on anything.
Was she pursuing child support from you, sir? Did she have a case, or was she proceeding with a case to try to recoup the child support that you owed her?
I simply don't know. I have
your
no
son
idea.
knows, and she would know. She's a simple phone call.
She didn't sign off, as far as I know, on any $60,000 worth of child support.
Child support in any amount?
Not that I know of. She
Well,
told me that
explain-
she had. She told me she had signed off, let's say in '98. or something like that.
Wasn't
And then
98.
I began to get notices of child support. I go to her and I ask her, I said, what is this? She told me you had signed off. She said, well, give me the notices and I'll take care of it, and then didn't. So I don't know anything about any sign off, period.
All right. Now you're going to tell me the story so that I can believe it about why you gave your son a certified check for $5,000.
I simply gave it to him for safekeeping.
I want you to explain to me why a certified check, sir.
Well, so I could have a paper trail.
You have a paper trail if you have a regular check. You have a canceled check. You have the same check that you do if you have an official check, sir.
Well, I felt a certified check was the thing to do.
When was the last time you gave your son a substantial amount of money?
Well, I've given him money, and he's run into rough spots before, and I've given him money before.
Only fair. You didn't support him as you were supposed to when he was growing up, so you made up for it now. Only reasonable.
I'm trying to understand what money before had
Just
he
to say,
given
what
me?
doesn't make any difference. Does anything that I say sound as if it's hurting you, sir? Does anything that I'm saying
No.
in this case sound as if I'm hurting you?
No, ma'am.
So what I'm saying to you, Mr. Byer, is the money that you didn't pay for his support when he was growing up, if you threw him an extra couple of dollars or an extra couple of $1,000s when he was in need as an adult, so what? It was money that you owed anyway.
I owe his mother money, not him.
You don't owe his mother money anymore.
I owe his mother money.
When was
and
the
not
last
him.
time you gave his mother money?
There is an order in place.
That's not my question. When was the last time you gave his mother money?
I can't remember.
Well, was it in this decade? Was it in this millennium?
The only thing I can tell you is that I'm paying child support, and I am current, and I have been current for 10 years.
He can't be current. He's 37.
I'm current in the arrears that was set up.
When your son has the money to give you back that you left in his care, he'll pay you back. Could you give him back any money now?
No, ma'am.
I left the money with him simply for him to, as a keepsake. For me.
As a keepsake.
And actually, he would run
Mr.
into...
Byer, I never heard such a ridiculous story in my life. And if you and your son have an agreement, and your son says that you have an agreement, I don't know why he said it. I'm not exactly sure, because I think if my common sense dictates to me, there was sort of a quid pro quo, that your son got his mother to sign off on this child support, and in exchange he got the $5,000. That sounds logical to me. What does not sound logical to me is an adult parent saying to a child, I'm giving you $5,000, as you just said to me, as a keepsake for me, and I'll come to you when I need it or when I want it. That suggests that you can't take care of your own money, or that the state was coming after you for money, and the reason you put it in a cashier's check was that there was no paper trail. No paper trail, not a paper trail, no paper trail. So you had accumulated some cash, you wrote out a cashier's check, and you gave it to him to put away. Either way, I'm not helping you, Mr. Byer. Goodbye. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may. Yeah, it's case number 578 on the calendar in the matter of DeBarry versus Gagliano.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Mr. DeBarry, you and the defendant were in a relationship and you lived together
Yes, Your
until
Honor.
sometime in May of last year.
Yes, Your Honor.
According to your complaint, you believe that Ms. Gagliano is responsible for several things. First, for an assault that you allege she perpetrated on you on that day. Second, you claim that she filed a false application for a restraining order against you, which caused you to incur some fees. You want her to be responsible, in addition, for a hotel that you had to pay for when she filed these false charges and you were forced to leave the home.
Yes.
The defendant says that you actually did, in fact, assault her. She says that in addition, she had to, since she was arrested, she had to stay in an apartment for a couple of weeks while you were living in her home. And in addition, when she finally was allowed back into the home, she found that the place was a mess and that you allegedly took some property that didn't belong to you. When did this incident occur?
May 24th, 2000.
And how long have the two of you been living together at
Just
that
over
time?
2 years.
So why don't you start by telling me what happened on the 24th of May?
Well, on May 24th, I had picked her up from the airport because she had been at her family's because her father had passed away. And, you know, we came into the apartment and I went into the bedroom when I got on the computer because I was looking for a rental car. And she right away started getting irate with me and yelling at me.
Why was she yelling at you?
We had conversations to the fact that we weren't getting along, that there was some issues.
Before she went away or when she was...
While she was away,
While she
I
was
had brought it to her attention that I felt like I was just a roommate. You know, I'm paying bills and I'm living there, but there's nothing else. So we discussed that when she got back, we would talk. As soon as she got back, she didn't say nothing on the car ride back from the airport. She got into the apartment and she flipped out.
Well, tell me how she flipped out, sir. What
She
did she
started throwing stuff, my golf clubs across the room. She wiped off everything off the desk and the dresser.
Well, what was it that precipitated that? Something usually happens before.
Nothing. She was just, I couldn't understand. This is a shock to me because she was never like this. So she continued to get irate and she's like, I want you out of here.
Were you not sympathetic to her?
I was.
Okay.
And I said, you want me out of here? Call the cops. She refused to call the cops. So she got in my face, clenched her fists, and turned red, and she was gritting her teeth, and she's like, pushing towards me like she wanted me to hit her. And I just backed away. I says, you need to get out of here. You need to go sit down and go do something because I don't need to deal with this. She's like, I want you out. I said, here, call 911. I typed 911 in my cell phone and I went to hand it to her. She wouldn't take it. She finally walked out of the room. I sat down at the desk. I was on the computer chair. And a couple minutes later, she came back in and she lunged at me on the chair and started digging into my face. So I had 911 programmed in the phone, so all I did was hit send. And I got the dispatcher. And I told him, she's attacking me. You need to send somebody here now. And she got up and she was hysterical and she went out in the other room. The dispatcher told me, lock the door, stay away from her, and stay on the phone with him, which I did. Police officers arrived and that's when they started investigating.
Do you have the police report?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it, please.
There you go. There's also pictures on there too.
All right. Why don't you tell me your version of the events, please?
My version is that I was with my mom because my dad had passed away, and I was there for a month from April 9th to May 24th. During this time, I received a phone bill, and I noticed he was calling this, making outgoing and receiving ingoing calls from this same number. And I questioned him about it, and he says he had fallen in love with this other person, and I didn't want him to be with me if he was in love with someone else or having relations with other people.
When did he tell you that?
I don't know the exact date.
Well, is it when you were away? Or
it was when I was at my mom's house. Okay. It was at my mom's house, and we had conversations for him to leave because we were both unhappy in the relationship. Because it was pretty much...
So far, does that ring a bell?
I never said that I was in love with this, but that is true that there were some calls, but it was never discussed like that.
Well, how was it discussed?
Like I had told you previously, I was unhappy and I felt like we were roommates, and she agreed that it was like we're roommates.
Right, so you became involved with somebody else?
No, I didn't, Your Honor.
Well,
it was a friend of mine that she accused me of cheating on her with.
You know, there's all kinds of cheating.
Right.
Sir, there's emotional cheating, there's physical cheating. You were having conversations with another woman, correct?
Yes, a friend.
Okay, go ahead. So you got back from...
I got back from Myrtle Beach, and I was unpacking my suitcase, and I had asked him to leave the apartment twice because I was really upset, and he was cursing at me, calling me bad things. And
no, that didn't start. That doesn't make sense. He picked you up from the airport.
We were talking. He said we didn't talk on the way home. We were talking on the way home.
He picked you up from the airport. He didn't say take a cab home, take a car service home. He picked you up from the airport.
With my car.
I don't care whether he picked you up with your car or not. He picked you up at the airport, correct?
Right.
And there was no scene at the airport.
In the car there was.
I said there was no scene in the airport. And when you got home, he just started to curse you? Is that what you're telling me? That doesn't make sense. Makes sense that you were angry with him because of what you saw on the phone bill, but it doesn't make sense that he would start cursing at you.
Well, because I told him I didn't love him. We had discussed that we wanted to separate, and I had asked him to leave, and he said no, and he became very violent.
Well, tell me what he did.
I went over to the desk to get...
Make sure it's consistent with this police report.
I went over to the desk because I saw my car keys on there, and I didn't want him leaving with my car. I should have just let him leave with my car and reported the car.
Don't tell me what you should have done. Just tell me what you did.
So I went over to the desk to just grab my car keys, and he grabbed me by the neck and was holding me by the neck. And then once he had me by the neck, I tried to get him to release me, so I scratched him on the face.
Police officers said, I observed Michelle's neck and did not see any marks or any form of injury. At the headquarters, Michelle stated that Joseph slammed the door in her face and injured her back when he jumped on her. Michelle made no claim of these actions when Sergeant and I were at her residence, and there were no injuries or marks consistent with her statement. He advised that while she was in the holding cell, Michelle did not confide any information that she was in fear of Joseph. Michelle was charged with simple...
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Joseph DeBari says his ex-girlfriend Michelle Gagliano owes for an assault, hotel fees, and for filing false charges. Michelle is countersuing for an assault, hotel fees, and damaged property.
Okay, you filed for a protective order on that date.
I was advised by
and granted a
Yes.
protective order. Okay, then you went back to the apartment.
Yes.
How long did you stay in the apartment?
It was 3 days.
When did you find out that the lease was in her name?
When I was removed from the apartment, I went to the office to ask them for a copy of the lease. Because
Well, tell
all
me-
along, I was under the assumption, because we filled out papers together when we got the apartment, I was supposed to be on the lease.
Did you ever sign a lease?
I signed a document stating that I was going to be a registered occupant.
Were you a registered occupant on the lease?
As far as I was concerned, yes.
Can I see the lease, please?
He wasn't, and the reason for that was because of his criminal background. And that's why I had to move from my original apartment where I lived, because they wouldn't let him live there because of his criminal background for fraud and embezzlement or whatever.
That's your choice. If it's true, and I don't know if it's true or not, that was your choice, right?
To live with him?
Yeah.
I know, but
that was your choice.
Yeah, right.
I mean, you didn't find out anything new about his criminal background after you moved from one apartment to another. You chose to live with him, right?
Yeah.
So you were there 3 days. And then what happened, sir?
I got a knock on the door, 2 police officers telling me I had to leave. They came in and they said, if you don't leave, we're going to arrest you. And this was at 5 o'clock. So I was like, this is wrong. I'm supposed to be here. You know, the court said I should be here. Well, you have to deal with them. It's after hours. You have to leave. So I left. I had a friend of mine pick me up and take me to a hotel. So I had contacted the courts and also the district attorney. And he stated to me, why are you out of the apartment? You have every right to be there.
Don't tell me what he stated to you, sir. That's hearsay.
To go back. So I went back after 4 days.
Okay, and?
And then our court proceedings continued. It was a 2-week adjournment. And after that, I decided to get my stuff.
And leave.
And leave. And just
Well,
bring
that's
the
a
keys
very
to
good
court.
idea.
I didn't want no trouble.
That's a very good idea. I believe his version of the events, and I do not believe yours.
Sorry.
I believe that you assaulted him, that there was a terrible altercation, and that you filed a restraining order subsequently. Yes, you have medical records. You have medical records?
I went to the emergency room.
Just a second. I want to see the medical records. I want to see what the physical manifestation was of this alleged assault.
And there's pictures too.
I'm not looking at any pictures. The police officer memorialized exactly what they saw when they came to the premises. So you went to the emergency room the next day?
Yes.
Not that day. You went the next day. And then you went 3 days later.
Because I tried
Don't tell me what they said. I'm just asking you for objective data. You went the next day to the emergency room. And then you went 3 days after that. I'm just reading the records.
It was a holiday weekend.
Don't tell me what it was.
And I tried to do it that day, but they told me I couldn't.
Don't tell me what they told you, madam. That's hearsay. You can always go to the emergency room.
I mean, for me to, I tried to file a...
You can always go to the emergency room.
No, I know that. I'm not...
I just made a simple
Okay.
statement. The simple statement was you went to the emergency room the next day.
Yes.
Who took the photographs that you want to show me?
I did. I took them in the hotel room because I had to stay at a hotel for 11 days, and I took them before I went to the emergency room.
On what date?
On the 25th of May.
I want to look at them. It's nonsense. Okay. You were asked to leave because of what?
That she filed a complaint against me.
When did you file a complaint against him?
It was when the courts reopened on Tuesday or Wednesday.
I'd like to see the complaint. You give so many different versions of this event to the police, to the doctors in the hospital, in your application for a protective order, and to me. In one narrative of the event, you say he slammed a door in your face and pushed you down. You told me he grabbed you by the throat, and that's what caused you to scratch him. Here you say that you went to grab a set of keys off the desk, he grabbed you by the neck and threw you down, and was holding you down by the neck.
He was.
Well, that's not what you told the doctors in the hospital.
I told them the same thing.
Do you want me to read what you told them?
I read it, and she wrote it.
She wrote it down differently.
She did.
Yeah. I believe that you filed this in retaliation, so you're filing the protective order. What expenses did you have with regard to defending the protective order?
I had $300 in a hotel for 4 days.
Let me see the bill.
It's my bank statement. There's 2 days on there, and 2 days I paid cash. I understand.
How much were the 2 days that are down there?
$74 a day.
I'm dismissing the part of your claim that seeks compensation for an assault. I do not believe you were assaulted. I believe he was. I believe you lost your temper, and that's what happened. I believe that you filed a restraining order against him in retaliation for his filing one so that you could get back into your apartment. That's what you did, and it didn't work. So I'm not awarding you anything on your counterclaim for the 2 weeks that you had to stay in a hotel room. You had to stay in a hotel room because you assaulted him, and he had a protective order. Now we're going to talk about your property. What do you claim that he took that belonged to you when he left?
He took a $200 blender. He took a digital photo frame. He took a business card case that I had. It all added up to...
Don't tell me what it added up to. I want to hear what he took.
He took
Keep going.
a wheeled laptop bag, a big Yankee clock that was on the wall, and that's it.
Did you take any of those items that belonged to you?
No, Your Honor. I took what was mine, just my clothes.
Did you ever file a police report with regard to items that he took?
No.
Why not?
Because when we went to court, he told my lawyer to tell me
No, don't tell me what he told your lawyer. After you got home, you're not a stranger now to the system. So now you can go back and file a police report that he stole items that belong to you.
Okay.
Did you ever do that?
No, I didn't think I had to
Good.
do that.
Your counterclaim's dismissed.
Okay.
I'm awarding you, sir, $648, which is $148 for your hotel room and $500 for your scratches. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He gets away with lies.
I didn't realize she was full of lies. I just knew that we didn't have a relationship.
He's just a shady person.
It was just getting worse, and I just wasn't happy.
He's just shady, manipulative, and he lies.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Flint versus White. Step forward.
26-year-old Melissa Flint is suing her ex-boyfriend, 26-year-old Brian White, for the unpaid balance on a furniture set and a television.
Miss Flint, you and Mr. White had a brief relationship, and according to your complaint, he owes you money for furniture and a television set that you put on your credit card.
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. White says he doesn't owe you anything, although he is sitting on the furniture and watching the television.
Yes, ma'am.
How long did the two of you date?
We dated approximately 2 months.
From when to when?
We started dating the middle of December to about the middle of February.
And when did he move into this apartment that needed furniture?
He was moving the weekend of the 19th of January of 2008.
So far correct, Mr. White?
I thought we dated a lot longer than that.
It just seemed longer, Mr. White.
Possibly, but no. I do recall at least being with her through March and maybe some of April.
Fine. Where were you living, Miss Flint?
I was living in an apartment of my own in Kansas City.
How long had you been living there?
I moved in July of 2007.
And Mr. White, where had you been living previous to this apartment?
I lived with my father.
What kind of work were you doing?
I was a sales rep for a company called Service Manager.
And Miss Flint had her own apartment, you had your apartment. Why would she buy you furniture?
It's a good question.
No. I always ask good questions, Mr. White.
Yes, ma'am.
That's why I'm here. I expect from you a truthful answer.
I will give you a truthful answer.
Then get to it.
Okay. She was with me at the time that I was moving out of my father's house. My roommate and I didn't have a bedroom or a TV, a nice TV.
So you're moving in with a roommate?
I moved in with a roommate, yes. I did.
Go ahead.
Anyways, as we got down to it, we were beginning to move in. I still did not have a TV or a bedroom set. She was willing to.
No, not she was willing to. I want you to tell me how it came about.
Well, I asked her if
What did you ask her?
If she would help me purchase a bedroom and a TV.
And what did she say?
She said yes.
And what did you say?
I said I would help make payments.
Then why are we here?
Because at the time we were together.
No, don't look down. Then why are we here?
Because at the time when we were together, she said she would help make payments with me. At the time that we broke up, I found out that she was with her ex-boyfriend.
Who cares?
I stopped making payments.
On what theory?
I looked at it as a gift.
He has really no defense to this. The fact that he didn't like the reason for your breakup is not a reason not to pay the bill.
We were together when she helped me purchase these. We went into it together.
No, you didn't go into it together, sir.
Yes,
if you
did.
lived together in an apartment with her, I would hear you. She had her own apartment. You moved in with a roommate. Listen to me. You moved in with a roommate. According to your testimony, not more than 3 minutes ago, you said you had an understanding. She said, can you help me buy the furniture? She said yes. And what was your understanding? She bought the furniture and I would make the payments. That's what you just said.
I said I would help with the payments, ma'am.
When was the last time you helped with the payments?
The last time I helped is after we broke up. The month that we broke up, I made
Listen,
my last
you look
payment.
foolish enough. Don't say anything else. All right? You look like enough of a fool. Say nothing else. You don't want your father to see this. $2,158. Judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step. Yes, case number 8 on the calendar in the matter of Montejano versus Martinez.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Ms. Montejano, it is your claim that at a party where I conjure up in my imagination there was a lot of drinking going on, that Ms. Martinez assaulted you. You want her to be responsible for your medical bills and for your pain and suffering as a result of that assault. Ms. Martinez indicates in her answer that this was a case of self-defense.
Yes.
First, tell me, on what date was this party you attended?
It was January 11.
2009?
Right.
And at whose home was the party?
It was at Edson's house.
Who's? Keep your voice up.
Edson's house.
Who was that?
Him. I mean, Nicole's
The house
boyfriend.
is actually mine.
You say it was at his house.
Well, I didn't know she lived there. It was.
You live there as well?
It's my house, yes.
Who owns the house?
I do.
And what was he doing there?
He's my boyfriend.
So you own the house.
He lives
with you.
Mm-hmm.
Who invited you to the party?
A friend of ours.
Who?
I can't say her name, but we were invited personally to that party.
What do you mean you can't say her name?
Her name was Alexia.
You know that person?
Absolutely not.
Do you?
I don't, Your Honor.
Was she at the party?
Yeah, she was there with some other friends. We knew Edson from before. We had been to his house a few times and partied. We didn't know he had a girlfriend now.
So you had been to his house before when she wasn't home?
I think he was single back then because we didn't know she lived
Is it the
there.
same house?
She didn't live there before.
Listen to me carefully. Is it the same house you went to before?
Yeah.
How many times had you been to the house?
Probably twice.
Twice, did you say?
Yeah.
Before January of 2009, when were you at the house before?
Yeah.
That doesn't require a yes or a no. That requires a date. Before January 2009, when was the last time you were at the house?
I don't remember. It was probably
a month,
like
2 months, 3
more than
months,
a year
6
ago.
months. What?
Probably more than a year ago.
How long have you been living there?
For a few months.
This is going to get better. Okay, so January 11th, you were invited by some girl. Now, who did you see? Did you see her when you got there?
Yeah.
What time did you get there?
We got there like around 11.
Who did you go to the party with?
Me, April, and my sister.
Let's go. You got there at 11 o'clock. What happened when you got there?
When we got there, we were dancing, and there was some girls already fighting. They were already fighting. I don't know why, because there was some girls dancing on their table, and I don't know why they were fighting, but they were fighting right in front of me. And we were about to leave, but then they calmed down. So we decided to stay a little longer. So we were just having a good time, partying. Even Edson came up to us and gave us a hug, and he was like, "Hey guys, how are you guys?" And we're like, "Oh, hey, what's up?" And
he does that to everybody.
Listen to
We don't have a table.
Shh, quiet. How much drinking were you doing, and what were you drinking?
I only had a mixed drink.
What kind of alcohol were you drinking?
It was vodka with like Sprite.
Did you meet any guys there that night? Is not an answer. Did you meet any guys there that night?
Yeah.
Did you end up in the bathroom with one of them?
No.
For sure.
Did you end up in the bathroom with somebody?
No, he wanted to walk me to the bathroom, and I kept telling him to leave.
I didn't ask you that. I asked you if you ended up in the bathroom with somebody.
Yes.
Yes.
That's the answer. With whom?
I didn't know him.
Who walked into the bathroom first, you or the guy?
I did, and then he followed me.
And after he followed you into the bathroom, who closed the door?
He did.
And what did you do in the bathroom?
I was telling him to get out because I needed to use our bathroom, and I wasn't feeling good, and he wouldn't get
Don't
out.
look down. Look at me.
And he wouldn't get out, and then that's when they started knocking on the door.
Yeah.
And that's when I told him to get out. I was like, "Get out, get out." And he got out, and I stayed in the restroom because I needed to use the restroom.
That's no trip.
Okay. Now let's just take it up to there, Miss Martinez, because I read your answer very carefully. Let's start with knocking at the bathroom door. You were trying to get people out of the house.
Yes, I had gotten overcrowded. Me and him started kicking people out. He was pounding on the door. I came to see what was going on. My lock is one of those you could just stick like a card in and just unlock it. So that's what I did because the door was locked. I unlocked it. She's wrapped in my towels and he has his pants down. So I go, I shut the door. I go, "I'm giving you 5 minutes. to get changed and get out of my restroom. I waited, I started kicking more people out, I came back. He had already fled by the time I came back. He ran out as fast as he could. I came in, she's kneeling in my restroom and she's telling me to hold on. I go, no, I gave you 5 minutes to put your clothes on and I asked you to get out and I asked you nicely and I didn't do anything. She didn't want to listen, she kept telling me to hold on, so I grabbed her and I pulled her out of my restroom and I told her to leave. We then started throwing punches at each other because she got because of the way I pulled her out, and that's when everything had started. Next thing I know, I have 2 other girls come and jump me as well. I have 3 of them on top of me by myself.
You mean these 2 girls?
Those 2.
Okay.
Which I don't know what the 16-year-old was doing at my house or why she would bring a 16-year-old to my house, but she was
16?
there.
She's 17.
What were you doing there? What were you doing there?
We went to, I wanted to go with her. And yeah, we ended up there at the party.
That you didn't go to until 11 o'clock at night?
Yeah.
Who do you live with?
My mom and my dad.
They let you go to a party at 11 o'clock at night?
My parents weren't home that weekend.
Hey.
Sorry.
Our parents weren't home that weekend, so we left.
She just said she was at home with her parents.
How many times do I have to tell you, don't speak to me.
Sorry, Your Honor.
Don't speak to me sitting down, and don't stand up until I ask you.
Okay.
Understand?
Yeah.
Perfect. So your parents weren't home that night, or the whole weekend?
Yeah.
But you knew it was the wrong thing to do?
Yes.
Now you can sit down. Okay, go ahead, Miss Martinez.
All 3 of them had a full grip of my hair, and I was trying to swing. I couldn't because they had me like literally bent over. And the first thing I grabbed was a bottle, and I swung. I didn't know who I was swinging at. I just swung. I got her. She still kept fighting, and both of them kept fighting. The guys had finally pulled us all apart. April then comes running back in. He steps in the middle of us because she's getting ready to hit me, and she's hitting him, trying to get through him to me. And then that's when more guys come, get her off of him, take her outside, and ask them to leave.
How many people were drunk that night?
I'd probably say 95% of the people that were there.
And that would be including you and including her?
I wasn't, because I was actually watching everything that was going on. Because I'm the owner of the house, I was just kind of patrolling. However, at the end of the night, when all the fight had happened, her sister actually came up to me and said, I really apologize for my sister, but she's really wasted.
That is not true.
Shh. Are you speaking sitting down? Don't get up, I didn't ask you. Not a shouting match here. This is a courtroom.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sandra Montejano says party hostess Nicole Martinez beat her up during a wild night of drinking. Nicole claims she was acting in self-defense.
Okay, tell me your version. Now you're in the bathroom. Now you're in the bathroom. And if you think that I believe that he followed you into the bathroom and nothing was going on there,
I don't even remember that guy taking his
because you were wasted, because you drank too much.
Maybe he tried to do something with me while I was using the restroom.
Because you were drunk. Because you drank too much, and you brought. She's your younger sister. Hey, I'm speaking. Now you're trying to talk over me. First I can't hear you, and now you're trying to talk over me. That's your kid sister?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the first thing you did wrong was to take your sister out to a place you knew you shouldn't have taken her, right?
Right.
Did you let her drink when you were there?
No.
Did you drink anything?
No.
Yeah, baloney.
She didn't.
Baloney.
And I wouldn't be making out with the guy in the restroom knowing that my little sister is outside.
Yeah. Yes, you would have.
No, I wouldn't.
Yes, you absolutely would have. For the same reason that you took her out at 11 o'clock at night. Now, give me your version. And I have other things to do today.
I don't remember. Half of what she's saying, it's a lie. Because
I didn't ask you half of what she's saying is a lie. I asked you your version. Hey, you're trying to talk over me again? I asked you to tell me your version of what happened after she told you to get out of the bathroom.
Okay, what happened is...
That you first told me you weren't in with a guy.
No, I did. I told you I was, but I didn't... I never did anything with that
first
guy.
You told me you weren't. Now let's move on. You're in the bathroom. She tells you to get out of the bathroom. He leaves. Go ahead.
Okay, as soon as he walks out of the bathroom, I start, using the bathroom. And that's when she tried to get me out of the bathroom. And I was like, hold on, I need to use the bathroom. And I didn't know who was knocking the door. When I came out of the bathroom, she just pulled me and started stalking me until I was shocked, like punching me all over the place. And I was shocked. I didn't even have a chance to defend myself.
And
so I remember seeing myself in the floor crying, and then they were telling me to leave, that we were going home already. So when we were walking out, I was like, did she just hit me like that or randomly? Like, I'm shocked. I can't believe she just attacked me like that. So I'm like, who is she? I wanna know who she is. I wasn't looking for a fight. I was just going to confront her. Like, why did she do that? I didn't do anything wrong.
I have a police.
So when we were leaving, she was outside surrounded by all these guys, and it seemed like all they wanted was just fight. Because I went up, I was walking
Don't tell
towards
me what
her.
it seems. Just tell me what happened.
Well, because when I was walking towards her, she just cracked the beer bottle in my head without even knowing why I was walking towards her for. I wasn't even sure if she was the one that had attacked me in the first place.
You mean you're in a tight area in somebody's house, right outside the bathroom, and you're not sure who it was who attacked you?
Right. I was still, in my mind, I was still looking for the girl that attacked me, and out of nowhere, she just...
Drunk. As a skunk. Drunk. Go to the hospital?
Yeah.
I want to see the report. And I want to see the police report. Thank you, sir. I don't want the hospital bills. I want the hospital report.
Well, I requested them, and they never called me back. They said they were going to give me a call back to go pick them up.
Okay. You told the police officer that when plaintiff came to you, you swung a beer bottle that was in your right hand. Is that right? That's what you told the police. That's what you told the police.
That's what they put down, yes.
No, that's what you told them.
Okay.
And at the police station, you acknowledged that you were wrong and that you shouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a start. You had no right to hit her with a beer bottle. You understand that?
I know.
Once somebody tells you to leave their house, you have to leave.
We were leaving.
No. Immediately. You overstayed your welcome. You were in the bathroom doing something you shouldn't have been doing. She wanted you to leave. It's her house. You should have left immediately. That doesn't mean that she has the right to lose it, which she clearly did. And so she has to be responsible. You have no health insurance?
No.
Have any of these bills been paid?
Not yet.
How many stitches did you have?
2.
What was the total amount of your bills?
$6,700.
Judging for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That should cover some of your medical bills. Now, can we have the next case, please?
Case number 9 on the calendar in the matter of McKay versus Rodriguez.
22-year-old April McKay is suing Nicole Martinez's boyfriend, Edson Rodriguez, for assaulting her at the party in question.
Have the parties been sworn?
Yes, they have.
Okay. All right. Ms. McKay, you were at the party. You were the third member of this triumvirate who went there.
Correct.
And it is your claim that Mr. Rodriguez assaulted you.
Correct.
According to the police, very uncooperative, Mr. Rodriguez.
Correct.
Why were you being uncooperative with the police?
He asked me to remain seated, and I stand up to get some water. That's why that was considered uncooperation.
What, you were dying for a drink?
Well, he asked me to remain seated, and I was upset because of the whole situation, and they just got into the house, and I went to get water. That was it.
You think that I believe that?
I think, yeah.
No. How much did you have to drink that night,
I didn't
Mr.
drink
Rodriguez? At all?
At all.
So you tell me, Ms. McKay, how he assaulted you.
Basically, it's from the start, just the way their case was earlier. We were there at the party for a while, enjoying our time. We got invited by some friends. Anyway, so I seen Sandra coming out, and this girl, don't remember, but anyway, she came out of the restaurant, they started fighting. So I went over there to separate them, and I was trying to separate them as, you know, so she came and tried to help me to separate Sandra and Nicole from fighting. That's when Edson came up to me and grabbed me and said, no, let them fight. Don't, you know, just let them fight. So no, I was telling him, I'm not going to let them fight. I'm going to go out and separate them. I want to leave. I'm not here to, you know, have any fights against anybody. So I pulled him apart again. That's when he grabbed me by the hair and started punching me. He dragged me down to the floor and started socking me in my chest. Then, therefore, we both went to the hospital for that. While I was getting dragged down by his fist and he was hitting me on the chest, I heard Sandra screaming and I heard a beer bottle break. I heard screaming. That's when the cops arrived, and that's it. I don't know what happened after that.
Go ahead.
Ma'am, Your Honor, She's 100 pounds, 5 feet tall. If I will beat her up, she will be in the hospital for a couple of weeks.
Oh, you're a big macho guy.
And I know you understand that. Now, according to the police report, it says that 2 male guys were punching her in the stomach, and she just said that, and she didn't admit that. And I have that in writing according to a police report.
Is there another male there?
No, not that I know of.
Can I see a copy of your hospital record?
Sure.
I have the police report.
There's that.
You were driving that night, Ms. McKay?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you have anything to drink that night?
No, Your Honor.
Go ahead, sir. I'm listening to you.
She declared, I mean, according to...
Don't tell me what she declared here. I'm asking you to talk to me. Did you hit her?
No, I don't.
Didn't put your hand on her?
Yeah, I did.
How?
I grabbed her hands so she wouldn't punch my girlfriend, and I was trying to control the situation. Then she fell down, and I didn't attack her at any time.
How did she get a chest contusion?
Well, that's a lie.
No, that's according to what the doctor says.
Yeah, she also said...
And that's according to what
Well,
the
she
doctor...
got involved in the fight when my girlfriend was fighting Sandra. I couldn't be back then.
So you mean when all 3 girls were involved in the fight, she could have gotten punched then?
Correct.
So you just pulled her away?
Just pull her away, trying to control.
Did she fall?
Yes.
Tell me how she fell.
Right when I noticed she wasn't there anymore, I just turned around. I didn't look at her falling, right? It was like 10, 15 people outside trying to control the whole situation. Now, over there says that there were 2 guys attacking her, which now she declared that's not true.
Yeah, are you trying to tell me what I have to look at in order to evaluate this case?
No, Your Honor, I'm sorry.
I asked, just tell me what happened. You pulled her off her.
Pulled her off her, trying to control the situation.
I'm not satisfied that Mr. Rodriguez punched you and assaulted you. I think he probably grabbed you and got you off her and you probably fell. But I think there was a whole lot of fighting going on there. And the only one who did something that was actionable was her. Because she knows that when she picked up that beer bottle, took that beer bottle that was in her hand, and hit her over the head with it, she knew it was wrong. And she knew it was wrong because she had allowed this group to come into her home and then got angry when this young lady wouldn't leave as quickly as she wanted her to leave. She sort of acknowledges that even in her answer, lost her temper and lost her cool. And she can do that as long as she doesn't do it with a beer bottle. He had nothing to do with it. Your case against Mr. Rodriguez is dismissed. That's all. Thank you.
All right, excuse you may step out. Yeah, it's case number 17 on the calendar, the matter of Fitzgerald versus Kolanowski.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Are you Derek?
Yep.
Yes is the answer.
Yes, Your Honor.
Sit up and look as if you're paying attention. Up. Sit up straight. Look like you're paying attention to me. You look very bored.
Straight.
All right.
That is.
Would you believe that these 2 women are actually fighting over this? Ladies, get it! Why in the world would you, for any reason, go after each other over a guy?
She went after me.
No.
She went after me, she went after me. I don't get it. And now that I see it, I for sure don't get it.
You'll get it once I explain
Now,
it.
listen to me. You made a baby with him?
Yes.
And you were living with him?
Yes.
Are you still living with him? No. Are you living with him?
No.
You see what happens? The only thing you got is a baby.
And damaged property.
No. The only thing you got is a baby.
She's
Damaged
almost
property
9.
goes away.
Yeah, I have a daughter that he doesn't care about.
That's right.
No.
That's just a second. I mean, it's a good lesson. Would you ever let your daughter hook up with somebody who wasn't ready to commit to you?
No.
No, of course not. How old are you?
I'm going to be 30 this year.
Is this your only child?
Yep.
Okay. Your lawsuit says that at some point you got into an altercation with the defendant, she got into an altercation with you, and she damaged your car. She says that you started it, you damaged her car, she's got a counterclaim. That's what the case is about.
Right.
And my boots.
So, I deal with it. It's all totally irrelevant compared to the much larger picture of ruined lives and disappointments and children without fathers. The damage to your car is this big. The 2 of you used to be friends, right? All right. So, when did this incident occur with the car?
March 3rd, 2009.
Put your hand down.
I'm sorry.
Go.
On March 3rd, 2009, Derek Zazeta, my daughter's father, was working on my car in his neighbor's driveway across the street.
Just a second. He's working on your car, so you had a reasonable relationship with him.
Yes.
And you called him to come to fix your car?
My whole exhaust system failed.
I'm just that requires a yes or no, not an exhaust. You called him to come and fix your car?
Yes.
When did you call him?
The night before.
And when did he show up?
The next day.
In the morning?
Yep. Yes.
Yes is the answer.
I know.
What time in the morning?
It was before noon.
And where was he living at the time?
I was at my friend Lori's house, and he lives kitty corner across the street from her.
Now, what were you doing at your friend's house?
I went over there because I couldn't go to his house because Christy was there.
Why didn't he come to your house?
Because all his tools are in his friend's garage across the street.
So that's
okay. He said, bring the car over and I'll take a look at it.
Yes.
Where do you live in relation to
I was
this?
living with Derek in November of 2008.
Listen to me. I didn't ask you.
Centerline.
Listen to me.
Sorry.
I have questions. You answer the questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Don't go beyond the scope of my question. If I want you to go further, I'll tell you. Otherwise, just answer the questions. On March 3rd, 2009, where were you living?
I was living on Centerline in my apartment.
Where is that in relation to where Derek was living and where her friend was living?
I was staying with him off and on.
Were
Just
you
staying
staying?
the night.
Shh. Were you staying with him on the night of March the 2nd?
Yes.
Okay, so you were at his house?
Yes.
Were you at his house the night before when he got a call from Miss Fitzgerald to fix her car?
Yes, Your Honor.
And I assume that when you were at his house and he got the call, you were annoyed?
No. I do not have any problem with him fixing her car because they have an understanding with the daughter thing.
So just a second. Put your hand down. So you had no problem. So you slept together that night, and the next day he left to go over to fix the car.
Yes. And
Did
the
you have
incident
any
did
words in the
not-
morning with him?
Yes.
What did you have words about in the morning?
He was going across the street to fix Katie's car, and I went back to sleep.
When I meant words, I meant unpleasant words.
No, there was no unpleasant words.
Nothing. Nope. Okay. So now he went across the street to fix her car.
Correct.
Go.
She's lying.
Nope. I don't want to hear she's lying. I wanted you to tell me the story.
Okay.
Now he comes over at noon to fix your car.
Okay, he came over to weld up my exhaust system, and when he came in to tell me it was done, she was in my friend's driveway, and as I got in my car...
She was in your friend's driveway?
Yes, Derek,
in her car?
Derek, my friend Angela, and myself got in my car to pick up my daughter from school, and she got mad.
Don't tell me what she got mad. Don't tell me
well,
mad.
she blocked the driveway, wouldn't let me out, so I had to go over the curb to get out of the driveway, and on the diagram over here it shows what happened after that.
Just a second.
It's news to me.
What time was this? He came over a little before noon.
This was about 1 or 2.
It was 3:30.
It was not 3:30.
It
I have a
was.
ticket.
I have the ticket from 5:11.
Don't.
It's not 5:11.
If it's not 1, 2, 3,
3:11.
I'm going to throw you out. You're going to get thrown out. And you right after her.
Sorry. I have the ticket.
I don't care what you have unless I'm asking you a question.
Yes, ma'am.
How old is your daughter?
She's 8.5.
And what kind of school does she go to that gets out at 1? I'm speaking. You let me finish. What kind of school does she go to that lets out at 1:30?
We were actually going back to my house first, then we were going to pick her up from school.
What were you going back to your house for?
Just to get away from Christy. So Derek and I could spend time.
So it was a lie that you were going to pick up your daughter?
No, we weren't.
No, it was a lie that you were going to pick up your daughter. You weren't going to pick up your daughter. You were going back to your house so you could spend time with Derek. That's what you started to tell me.
I wasn't spending time with Derek.
Who
he
was?
wanted to spend time with his girlfriend that he was trying to get back together with, Angela.
Fine. So what you were
I didn't
doing,
mean to
hey,
lie.
I'm speaking.
Okay.
So you were facilitating him spending time with his girlfriend?
Yes.
X.
Great. You all deserve each other.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Katie Fitzgerald claims former friend Christy Kolanowski purposely rammed her vehicle during an argument over a man.
Now, she's blocked your car because she's been with him the night before. Excuse me, I have to put my glasses on and take a better look at this.
He's not worth it, believe me.
You're telling me?
He's not.
So what's happening, Ms. Fitzgerald, is you know that the defendant was at his house the night before. You know that they slept in the same bed probably the night before. And he used to be your boyfriend, father
Years
of your
ago.
child. Let me just understand this. So you called him to come and fix your exhaust system, and you were facilitating. You know what that means? You were making it easy for him, used to be your boyfriend, currently her boyfriend, to get back together with this person by going back to your house to spend time with her out of the eye shot and earshot of this defendant.
Yeah.
I just want to know what's going on. And it is your claim that she got angry and she blocked the driveway. And then what happened?
Are you asking me?
I am asking
Then
you.
I backed out of the driveway over the curb, and in the diagram, if you would like me to explain the diagram, I would. But
I don't need you to. Just
Okay.
tell me.
I backed out of the driveway. There's skid marks. I have pictures of skid marks on the
Just
street.
tell me. You backed out of your driveway, but you couldn't get over your driveway, so you
so
took
I went over the
I'm
curb.
speaking. So you took the car that he just fixed and you went over the curb with it
Had no
to
choice.
get away so that he could have some private time with her.
And then
I'm getting this right?
Yes.
You're taking your car. What do you do for a living?
I don't work.
You have to work.
I'm
If you-
disabled.
You're not too disabled to get behind the wheel of a car.
No. but
Drive
I
over a curb.
I didn't want to hit her car. I had to leave though, because she was going crazy.
You didn't have to leave. She's going crazy. You go in your house. You call 911. You say someone is blocking my driveway. Hey, I'm not talking to you.
I know, I'm so sorry. Because it's just.
You just call the
a lie.
police.
We did
Your
call the police.
counterclaim's dismissed.
I'm sorry.
Counterclaim's dismissed. Now we're going to continue. Now you got it? Good. That's what a normal person does. Now, do you have a psychiatric disability?
No.
Well, if you don't have a psychiatric disability, and I'm not going to
Right.
ask you what the nature of your disability is that prevents you from working.
It's post-traumatic stress.
That would be a psychiatric disability.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sorry. I didn't know. I didn't know.
Well, you should know. If the reason that the government is taking care of you is because you have post-traumatic stress from something.
It was from a head injury. I'm sorry, Your Honor. I'm sorry.
You should get a job. It would keep you out of trouble.
I do want to get a job.
You should get a job, any kind of a job.
I do.
It would keep you out of trouble.
I want to work in the casino.
It would keep you out of trouble. It would keep you from machinating and ruminating about stupid things. All right, so now you're going over a curb when you and, what's your name?
Angela,
And how old are you, Angela?
32.
32. What do you do for a living?
I'm a painter,
House painter or a
Yes.
portrait painter?
house painter.
But you weren't working, I assume, on this day.
I was not.
Go ahead. So you backed over the curb. Go.
And I was going down the street, and she sped off behind me. I have skid marks.
Sped off behind you
and tried to hit me the whole way down the street. And then she
And?
was swerving around me, and she swerved to go around me and rammed right into the passenger rear of my car. And I have a picture of my bumper. I have an estimate for the frame that she bent on my car. And I got a careless driving ticket because we were both going at top. We were screaming at each other. She jumped out and kicked my car.
Just a second. So you were both screaming at each other, and you were both driving your car recklessly in order to get, because you both got citations.
Well, they just
Correct?
didn't want to deal with
Did
it.
you both get citations?
Yes, we did.
Well, I have a violation of driving on a restricted license because I was trying to leave the scene just to avoid conflict, and it was a cat and mouse down the street.
I gather
She
that
was
that's exactly
speeding
what it
up.
was. I gather that's exactly what it was.
And when I went to go turn down Elsa, which it's not on the diagram, she cut me off, so that's how I got my front end clipped. And my witness right here, he's seen it all.
I want to explain something to you. The person that I want to least hear from in this world today is him.
Yeah, I know, Your Honor. I'm so sorry.
You understand?
I understand that.
Now, I don't think that either one of you, based upon what you just told me, acted appropriately that day.
I was just trying to get out of there.
I packed.
You didn't have to get out.
She was waiting.
You didn't have to get out.
You cut
All you
me
had,
off.
hey, based upon what
How
you
do you
told
cut somebody off on a side
When I'm
street?
trying to turn
your
on a
claim
side
is
street,
I'm
you
sorry,
cut
I'm
me
sorry.
off.
No, I'm sorry.
No.
She
said,
keeps
how many
going-
times
I'm
did you say
sorry.
I'm sorry?
I know, I'm not
I
gonna
dismissed her
talk
claim.
unless you talk.
I dismissed her claim.
I'm sorry.
Your claim's dismissed. Dismissed. I would have dismissed it anyway. You don't hear. You have to be more involved with your life and less involved with the lives of other people. Do you get it?
Yes.
I mean, I don't know what kind of stupidity you were involved with that day, because I'm not hearing this counterclaim of yours that she hit your car and that she's responsible for the accident. You both behaved badly.
I should have called the cops in the first place.
That's right. Or gone into the house and not arranged for this assignation between Prince Charming over here and your unemployed painter friend. Do you get it?
Yes.
Do you get it?
Yes.
Goodbye.
What about my boots?
Step out.
Thank you.
She turned my daughter's father against his own daughter.
I already know how my kid's ma is.
I'm going after him for child support, so the loser better get a job.
I'll pay child support, and she can go pay a real mechanic, a real collision shop, real prices, and see how far that goes.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Bourgeois versus Lesserson. Step forward, please.
Carol Bourgeois is suing her former employee, Sarah Lesserson, for damage to her home, a broken cell phone, the cost to change her locks, and lost wages.
Ms. Bourgeois, you hired the defendant as a personal assistant. Things didn't work out. The relationship of employer-employee ended badly. According to what I read in your complaint and your answer, there came a time when Miss Lesserson, terminating herself from your employ, asked for her final paycheck, something that you did not give her immediately. Subsequently, she sued you in small claims court for her paycheck. So far, correct?
Yes.
And you lost, and you were directed by the judge to return her paycheck. You appealed that decision, and within the last several months, your appeal was rejected. So far, is that correct?
Correct. Yes, Your Honor.
Did you get your paycheck?
I did, Your Honor.
And I also read between the lines here, and at that time you also raised before the judge in that small claims hearing the fact that you wanted a business cell phone back. Correct?
Correct. Amongst other things, yes.
Talking about the cell phone?
Yes, Your Honor.
And the judge directed that the cell phone be returned. When did you return the cell phone?
I returned it in August when we were in court. I had brought that along with other belongings.
August of 2008.
And
8. Because you say that she damaged the cell phone. That I'm not entertaining. That was already taken care of by another judge. And between August of 2008 and May of 2009, if you had a complaint about the cell phone, you should have filed it, not waited until after your appeal was denied. Do we understand each other?
Yes.
Good. In addition, you are suing her because you say when she came to your office to collect her paycheck, she assaulted you.
Correct.
Something I assume you raised at some point. Is that right?
Yes.
When did you raise this assault?
I believe it was mentioned during the paycheck, but the judge wasn't concerned with that and didn't address that because that was not the issue.
He could have. Because the same way that you're suing her now for the assault, you could have counterclaimed when she sued you for the paycheck for the assault. And it was raised before the judge,
right, but
correct?
out of ignorance, I thought that it would balance out. I didn't understand.
I'm dismissing the assault. You get one shot of the apple. You can't come and fetch and annoy courts because you lose an appeal. Do we understand each other?
Yes.
Unless you have a police report that suggests that you had visible injuries. Do you have a police report that indicates you had visible injuries?
I have photos too.
I'm not interested in your photos. I'm interested in the police report.
Your Honor,
Don't speak. So far, you're not losing. So far, I got what this case is. It's a lot of nonsense. Somebody who's vindictive because they lost a case. I can see no signs of injury on Bourgeois' right arm or right cheek where she said she was slapped. Bourgeois could not tell me with what hand Lesserson slapped or grabbed her. Okay, that's what I thought. Because even if I believe that she slapped you, which I don't, there is no way that you lost any wages due to an assault and changed lock fees. You want to give me 30 seconds on changed lock fees? 30 seconds.
She cut my keys. She signed a receipt stating that she would return my house key. She said she was holding it hostage, and because she assaulted me, broke my gate, I had to call the police. She was screaming at me. I was afraid, so I had to call a locksmith to change my locks.
Madam, you lost the case. You've already had 2 bites of the apple. You had a trial. I'm speaking. You had a trial, and you had an appeal. Every issue that you raised before me, you could have raised, did raise, in some instances before another judge. You don't get to waste court's time 3 times. Do you understand?
Yes, but I did
That's
raise
all.
those.
Case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step. Now, it's case number 23 on the calendar in the matter of Cedarquist versus Spikovius.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Ms. Cedarquist, the defendant was your former boyfriend, and you have a 5-year-old child together.
Yes, that's right.
The complaint is an interesting one. You lived in a house together for a period of time up until when?
June of 07.
And at that time, you separated, and the defendant ultimately left the house. You claim he left the house, leaving certain property there. And the property remained there for 18 months. And you want him to pay storage fees for that property.
Yes, I do.
That's what your case is about.
Yes.
That's not going to happen. Did you have a storage agreement with him?
Yes, we did.
No, you didn't. You never had an agreement that he was going to pay you for storage. As a matter of fact, according to the defendant, which I believe, the reason that stuff was left in the house, at least part of the reason, was the ownership of the house was in dispute, and there was some legal action with regard to who was going to get the house. Is that true?
That's true.
Was the house in dispute?
Yes, it was.
Fine. And when was that dispute resolved?
I lost the action in the first part of 07.
Do you have an appeal pending?
Yes, we have an appeal pending.
At the same time, I understand, based upon your answer, a custody dispute. Is that correct?
That has been resolved now.
How has it been resolved, sir?
We were in the social services system for 18 months, and as of April 1st, the child has been awarded me as the full parent.
When you say you were in the social service system, what does that mean?
During our battles in the past, the police came out and had removed the child and put her into
This
protective
doesn't have
custody.
anything to do with the case, Your Honor. This is private information, and this is a different problem altogether. I don't want to bring my daughter into it. I'd like not to.
I have questions. If you don't want to answer my questions,
I'm just being protective of my daughter.
Your daughter is how old?
She's 5.
Yeah, tell her not to watch. Tell her not to watch. At this point, you're in the house. Some of his property was there. I want to see a copy of a contract that you had with him for storage of whatever property. These are auto parts. I want to see it. You have a copy of a contract?
You know, I do.
I want to see it.
In the sense that...
Just a second. Just give me a copy of a contract of a storage agreement that he made with you to store these auto parts in your house that you sold when?
The last 6 months. And I told him I was going to be selling them for storage, and he, in fact, helped me. I have proof here that he helped me with some of these listings, knowing I was selling them for storage purposes, storage fee purposes.
Show me a contract that you had. Show me.
A written contract that he signed?
Yes.
Not a verbal one?
No.
I don't have one.
And the stuff has been there since June of 2007. Is that correct?
Technically, it's been there since 1989.
No, it hasn't, Dirk. No, that's not true. That's
when
not true.
did you first move into the house, Miss Cedarquist?
I moved into the house in of 02.
Sir, I don't understand how it could be there in 1989 if you moved into the house. If she didn't move into the house until 2002.
I purchased the house in 1989. It's been my house. And
just a minute.
You lost the house in foreclosure.
Oh, forget it. Forget it. Okay. Very good. Now you have a counterclaim. I'm prepared to hear your counterclaim in about 30 seconds. You have a counterclaim for her selling your stuff on eBay?
That is correct.
Did you ever give her permission to sell your stuff on eBay? Just answer the question. That requires a yes or a no.
No.
I don't believe it. You just started to give me a reason. Did you ever give her permission to sell your stuff on eBay?
Yes, when we were together.
I have proof that shows him giving me permission just months ago.
Mr. Spikovius, if the plaintiff has proof that you gave her permission after June of 07 to sell your property on eBay, I'm not going to be happy with you, sir. Do you understand?
I understand that.
All I want to ask you is, did you give her permission since June of 07 to sell any of your auto parts on eBay?
No.
Fine, show me the proof.
This is communication.
Now I'm dealing with his counterclaim. I'm already resolving your claim for storage, which is nonsense.
Well, this is his... This
nonsense! Did you ever write to her, be extremely careful, the bolts break easy, and it's easy to mess up the strip? Yes, take off the lights and sell separate? And that was written in May of 2008.
Not in May 2008. No.
Well, that's when it's, I mean, I don't do this machine well, and I certainly don't do eBay well. Isn't that date Saturday, May 24th, 2008? Isn't that what it says, Bird?
That's what it says.
I want to show this to him. May of 08 is after June of 07.
Yes.
Can I also ask you to look at the pictures of of how much stuff there is?
I don't care. You lived in this house together. You lived in this house as a couple. He lived in this house separately. You lived in this house separately. I gather there was some sort of ongoing dispute with regard to the ownership of the house and who should get the house. You got the house. He got the kid. That's the way it worked out. If you're not happy with that, that's too bad. But that's the way it is. You have a child who's 5. Start getting along with each other because you're tied to each other for a long time. If he has primary physical custody of this child, now, in the foreseeable future, you better be nice to him and stop irritating him. And you the same, sir. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay? You got to start loving your daughter more than you hate each other. And stop fighting over nonsense, like storage fees for auto parts.
I have lived my whole life has been revolved around these parts.
Listen to me. I'm not hearing any more about your stored auto parts. Do you understand?
Then they're mine.
Do you understand?
Then they're mine. I understand.
Perfect.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Patricia Cedarquist says the father of her child, Dirk Spikovius, owes for abandoning his property at her home. Dirk is countersuing Patricia for check fraud and for selling his belongings on eBay.
Now, you still have any property at her house?
Yes, I do.
You have 5 days to go and get the stuff. If you do not get it within 5 days...
Your Honor, I've lived with these for so many years and fought with the city over it, the neighbors. What about damages?
Miss Cedarquist, listen to me carefully. Didn't you have your listening ears on? You have a 5-year-old child that you're hell-bent on protecting.
Yes.
Listen to me carefully. You are tied to him. He is now the primary physical custodian of your 5-year-old.
That will change.
It may, and it may not. And irrespective of whether it changes or not, both of you, based upon the fact that they gave him physical custody now, are going to have input in this child's life. And if a court finds that you're going to impede that, no court will give you custody of a child. I wouldn't give you custody of a child if I felt for 1 second that by giving you custody of this child, she was going to be deprived of her father. And that's the sense that I'm getting from you, Miss Cedarquist. That is the sense that I'm getting from you. Put your listening ears on. You gotta love your child more than you hate each other. He's gonna come within 5 days and pick up all of his junk. And whatever he doesn't pick up with a marshal within 5 days belongs to her.
I gave you so many opportunities.
Hey, I'm speaking. Don't you get it?
Yes, I do.
Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Whatever you don't pick up now
In 5
is
days.
hers. Now, based on this that you can't explain to me, that suggests to me that you lied to me when you said that after June of 07, she never had permission to sell any of your stuff on eBay.
Correct.
So if she sold any of your stuff on eBay for whatever costs, I'm dismissing that part of your counterclaim. Do you understand?
Yes.
Now I'm going to get to this other part of your counterclaim if you still want to pursue it.
Yes, I do.
Go ahead.
During our breakup, she stole a checkbook and proceeded with check fraud.
You broke up in June of 07.
Correct.
And she stole your checkbook.
Correct.
And when did she write a check out?
She wrote a check out in February 7th of 07. Several checks.
Yes, and when did you find out about it?
Later that month, when
In
my bank
February.
account.
Why in the world would you think that I would entertain that 2 years later?
Because knowing that she doesn't have any money, I wasn't going to pursue it. It was a lost cause.
Well, then you should have pursued it in a more timely fashion. The doctrine is called latches. You sort of waited too long, sir. What else? I'm going to put your listening ears on, too.
Other than a collection agency.
You got to love your child more than you hate each other.
I do.
Good. How often does your daughter see her mother?
2 hours, twice a week, monitored.
By whom?
I was not allowed to be the monitor.
Of course not.
And
I can understand
so
that.
her son and her daughter do the monitoring.
Do they come to your house or do they take the child to her house?
I drop the child off, and sometimes the grandmother drops the child off.
And she comes back, and that's
I
been
pick her
going
up.
on since when?
As of the beginning of this month, April,
Prior to April, where was the child living?
with me,
Okay, and prior to that, where was she living?
with the paternal grandparents,
With your parents?
with my parents.
Okay, fine. Very good. Listen, try to get along, because if you don't get along with him, you don't want to be relegated to 2 hours twice a week with your daughter.
That will change.
I doubt it.
Oh, it will.
Oh, I doubt it.
I don't.
No. I doubt it.
No, they haven't heard everything that
I
they
doubt
need to
it.
hear about this man.
I doubt it. Your case is dismissed. So's your counterclaim. That's all.
Ladies are excused. You may step out.
He's a liar.
I'm very happy with the judgment.
I call my ex-boyfriend because he took an axe to everywhere in my house. The ceilings, the piano, my glass, everything.
We both were out there with axes and pitches destroying each other's cars and property.
And when the police came, they took my daughter away because he made my home unsafe. Because there was glass everywhere. That's why I don't have her.
It was a scene when you get 9 cop cars out there trying to break us up, trying to decide who to take to jail. Got interesting.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Malburn versus Malburn, step forward, please.
Thomas Malburn is suing his son, Oscar Malburn, for the return of payments made on a motorcycle that Oscar repossessed. Oscar is countersuing for damages to the bike.
Mr. Malburn, this is your son.
Yes, ma'am.
According to your complaint, your son took back a motorcycle that he had previously sold to you.
Yes, ma'am.
And he sold to you, and the conditions of the sale were that you were taking over payments.
Yes, ma'am.
Because he could no longer make the payments on the motorcycle that he purchased. You wanted it. You said, I'll take it off your hands. I'll make the monthly payments. He held the title until the payments were made. You made the payments for how long, sir?
16 months.
And then your son came and took back the motorcycle.
Yes, ma'am.
You want the payments that you did, in fact, make on the motorcycle during that time. Your son says that you violated the agreement because you made your payments late, thereby potentially damaging his credit, and he had every right to take it back. He has a counterclaim that is nonsense. He wants to charge you for renting the motorcycle on a weekly or daily basis. That's dismissed out of hand because that was never your agreement. When did you buy this motorcycle?
August of 2007.
And how much was it?
It was $18,000.
What kind of work were you doing at the time?
I was doing construction, stair builder.
Is this the only vehicle you had?
No, I had a car.
When did you make this arrangement with your father to take over your payments?
In February or March of 2008.
Why?
Because I had lost my job.
When did you lose your job?
In February.
When was the last time you had made a motorcycle payment?
January or December.
You had missed a payment.
Yeah.
Well, if you missed a payment, then your credit was already down the tubes, right?
Somewhat.
Somewhat. But you had missed a whole month.
Yeah.
So when your father took over your payments, he made 2 payments to catch up, correct?
Yeah.
That would be a yes.
Yes.
And did he make the payments each month after that?
He made them each month after that, but he never made them on time.
When were they due?
They were doing the 17th of every month.
Did you make the payments on the 17th of each month?
No, I did not.
Because you're going to show me the payments that you made, right?
Yeah.
Let me see them. You have your checks?
No, I do not. I made it off all through the phone.
When did you take this bike back from your father?
In March.
How much had you paid for the bike?
I paid from August to December.
So you paid for 5 months?
Yeah.
And your father paid for 16 months?
Yeah.
Where's the bike?
In my garage.
You have to give it back to him.
No.
Oh, yeah, you do.
No.
Oh, yeah, you do. You have no defense because the only defense that you presented to me was that you took the bike back because your father made the payments late, thereby jeopardizing your credit. In order for you to be able to establish that he jeopardized your credit, you have to have some credit to jeopardize. You already damaged your credit in December 2008 when you missed a payment. And then, according to your own statement, you made your payments late. So what difference does it make if your father made the payments late or you made the payments late?
No, I made my payments on time.
Did you? Show me you made your payments on time. You can't. And you made a contract with your father. And the contract with your father was he was going to make the payments on your motorcycle, which he did for 16 months. And at the end of that period of time that took into consideration the entire loan, the title to the motorcycle would be given to him because that was your contract. He actually owned it. It was no different from you were acting as a car dealership. I'm holding the title till you make your payments. As soon as you finish your payments, I'm going to give you the title. That's what you did. You have a written contract with your father?
Yes, ma'am.
Let me see it.
He has.
Your Honor,
I have the contract, but he doesn't.
I want to see the contract. This says, to whom it may concern, I am selling my Harley Davidson to my father, Thomas. He will be making the payments on the motorcycle. However, the loan will remain in my name. I am releasing any and all claims of ownership to this motorcycle permanently. And you signed it. He gets the motorcycle back.
No.
Oh, yeah, Marshall's going to come and take it right from your house.
Your Honor.
What?
The motorcycle is in his name. The loan was taken out in his name. So
Yeah.
legally, the motorcycle is his.
Are you on his side? I'll dismiss
No,
your
Your
case.
Honor, I'm not,
You
but-
either have two choices. Either I dismiss your case or you go get the motorcycle. You have a valid contract.
No, I'm just looking for the money
Sorry,
back.
you have a valid contract. He permanently released to you any claim of ownership of this motorcycle. This, in conjunction with an order from me, could be presented to a marshal, and you can go and get the motorcycle. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
And there was also a verbal
And the contract,
between
there
the two
can't
of
be
us.
listen to me, I want you to listen to what the law is. The verbal contract cannot be admitted if there is a written contract. You cannot modify a written contract with a verbal one. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Nothing in this piece of paper says that the loan has to be paid on the 17th of the month. It says that you permanently relinquish any claims to ownership of the motorcycle. That's what it says. That's what I'm holding you to. You signed it. We'll prepare the order. Thank you very much. Case is over.
What about the damages done to this bike?
He's
that were
taking the
never-
bike back, sir.
This is
He's
ridiculous.
taking the bike back.
This is ridiculous.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Yeah, this is case number 5 on the calendar in the matter of Porter versus Balkans.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have a seat.
Mr. Porter, you and some of your friends answered an ad in Craigslist for room, place to rent, and the defendants became your landlords. You have a band. You moved in with your friends and your band equipment. According to your complaint, you were supposed to pay them rent, and you didn't. You owe them $800. Is that right?
Yes.
Is there any reason why you didn't pay rent?
Well, we were all looking for jobs, and we couldn't find a job at the time. We were going every day looking for a job, and we couldn't find a job.
Well, how do you visit that on strangers? Call your parents, call your sister, call your brother. I don't care what you do. You had a contract to pay them rent.
We were there for a month, and we did pay him rent for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then the other 2 weeks, we just didn't have, we just ran out of money. We couldn't pay him rent for the $800.
So what did you do?
We left him our equipment for collateral for the $800.
What equipment did you leave them?
I got here a contract stating of all the list of the equipment that we held at their house.
Very easy. Let's see. Yeah.
And this here also comes with it too. This is like a receipt because our PA system is what we made a collateral of, and then that equipment is what we had storage in their house also.
Oh, that's not what this says at all. It says you're leaving the following equipment with them as collateral for unpaid rent, and it lists all this equipment. All of it.
Yeah.
Not some of it, it lists all of it. And you didn't pay the rent.
Yeah.
And you still didn't pay the rent.
Right.
And
That's why we made this receipt so that we could distinguish what was going to be collateral out.
No. This is your contract. Is that receipt signed by everybody?
It's signed by...
Sorry.
Is that receipt signed by everybody?
It's signed by them.
Is it signed by everybody?
No.
Then it can't modify this contract. This contract gives them all this equipment, everything, until your rent is paid, and you never paid your rent. So how could you sue them for equipment?
When I came back.
Yeah.
I came back because we all left to Utah. Go back to Utah.
When?
When we couldn't pay rent. It was
What month and year?
In October.
October of 08.
08.
You went back to Utah and you left them all this junk in their house.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I had to come back in November because I had a few things that I had to take care of, and they told me I could live with them for a little bit, try to find a job for me, live with them. And in January, she rented our PA system out.
Just a minute, so you lived with them November, December?
December, yeah.
If you speak again, I'm putting you out. Do you understand?
Sorry.
You wanted to be the plaintiff, you could have stood up there.
Sorry.
A hair out of your eye so I could see you, please. So these nice people let you stay there November and December. How much rent did they charge you?
They didn't charge me any rent.
Well, sound like nice people to me. Let me hear what the rest of your problem is.
In January, they rented our PA system out for without my permission.
Who cares?
Our permission.
You didn't pay your rent. The equipment was theirs. Go ahead.
Okay, so the next day they kicked me out of the house, and
they kicked you out. Why? Did you open a fresh mouth to them?
No, because they rented our PA system out, and we didn't really agree to it. So I think that's why they kicked me out.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
So far, you see, I'm not too sympathetic with you. You want to live in a grown-up world, you got to be a grown-up.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So the next day, I called a few friends, to help me out. Cameron was there.
To help you out? How?
To get the equipment out.
You didn't have the $800.
No, but like I said, what we understood was the PA was the only thing that was collateral.
Can you read?
Yes,
Take the hair out of your eye so you can read.
Yes, I could read.
You want to read what that says?
I could read.
Now, I understand you went back with police.
Yes, I did.
What happened when you went back with the police?
Well, when I was getting my stuff out, Vince was yelling at me and cussing at me, and he was pushing me down the stairs. He spit in my face, punched me in the shoulder, and then the cops came, and I told him all about it, and that's when I guess Vince was hiding in the house.
Yeah.
Was hiding in the house, or Gina was at work when the cops showed up, so nobody was there at the house when the cops showed up.
Nobody was there, so what did you do?
Well, me and the cop were just talking about what just happened and everything, and then Gina showed up moments later, and then she talked with the cop, whatever, saying that I could get my equipment out, but she didn't have a key to the house. She told me to come back around 4:30 and I would be able to get the equipment out of the house. And so I came back at 4:30 with the cop, and she was there outside of her house claiming that she still didn't have a key to the house. So, there wasn't much I could do. So I went back home where I was staying with a friend, and the next day Gina called me up, cussing at me and everything. And that's when she told me that all our equipment is going to go to the recycling plant, to get money or whatever. So I called the cops again, and the same cop showed up again the next day when I came out. And still again, nobody was home and knocked at the door.
You got your equipment.
No, I didn't. The only equipment I do have is my drum set, and I'm still missing a few parts of the drum set. And I do have a witness, a special witness, that will verify that.
Fine. Call him.
Is it Jocelyn?
Jocelyn.
Jocelyn.
Jocelyn?
Yep.
Swear the witness, please.
Sir, would you raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth in all matters concerning this case?
I do.
State your name, badge, and...
Rob Jocelyn, Deputy Sheriff in Southern California.
I understand that you were part of this proceeding where this young man was trying to regain possession of some band equipment.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Did anybody ever show this to you?
No. It's probably the one they were referring to.
Who was referring to it?
She did, along with
Mr. Porter.
Yes.
So you understand that this says that until he pays $800 that he owes them for rent, this was being held as collateral.
That's correct. And I advised him that because of that, I was basically there to keep the peace because there was nothing I could do to help him retrieve his property.
Good. And what did he do?
He wasn't totally pleased with my answer, but he was understanding because of my explanation.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tyler Porter says his ex-landlords, Gina and Vince Balkins, owe for the return of his band's musical equipment. The defendants are countersuing for unpaid rent.
Well, tell me, officer, what did the defendant tell you?
That she didn't have a key, that the only key to the house was with her husband wherever he was working, and she wasn't able to get a hold of him. So getting in the house at that time was out of the question.
And did you subsequently go back and gain entry into the house?
Did not get entry into the house, but I did go back a second time.
For what?
When I was advised that the drums were made available to Mr. Porter in an unlocked vehicle in the driveway.
Who advised you that?
Mr. Porter did.
What did he tell you?
That she had told him that his drums were going to be in this vehicle and he could come by and get them.
What were his drums doing in a vehicle?
I had my husband put all the stuff that was left in the room in the van.
What stuff?
I'm not sure everything of what it is.
What was put in there? Do you know, sir?
Yes, he has a fairly large drum set, and that was put in the van, along with a couple other practice amps that were there.
Your Honor, there was no practice amps, there's no amps. All there was my drum set, and there are some pieces of my drum set that are missing, and that was not in the van.
So?
Exactly.
I asked you, so? You saw him get his drum set?
Yes, and I do remember him saying that a few pieces were missing, but there were no amps the day that I was there when he retrieved his drums.
I was home.
Where's their $800?
Well, our stuff was all gone. How, you know, I don't want to pay me $100, and then,
How do I know that? Your stuff's been in their house now 6 months, occupying a room. 6 months. I mean, you think that everybody is your mother? That everybody cleans up after you?
No.
Well, who are these strangers going to clean up after you? According to you, you left all this crap in their house for 6 months. And you moved back with them. They let you come and live with them for 2 months rent-free. They don't even know who you are. They don't know you. And you still didn't pay them. And you call the police because you say, I want my stuff back. And you have a contract with them that says you don't get your stuff back until you pay them. What don't you get?
I just don't get how $800 could be collateral of $5,000. I know it says that, but here in the receipt where we made a receipt, it says just the PA system, which is worth $1,225.
Really?
Yeah.
So you're prepared to lose that, right?
I would be willing to lose that if I could get my other stuff, yes.
Yes.
The other stuff's not his. It wasn't his to take in the first place. The only thing that, as it states on that piece of paper that we have here that was his, was the drum set.
Well, what did you do with all this room full of stuff?
Got rid of it after about the fifth month.
Listen, that's what I'm trying to get, Mr. Balkans.
Right.
What did you do with the rest of this stuff?
The rest of the stuff in that room I put in the van, ma'am.
No. This is the drum set. There's lots of other stuff here. You said you got rid of it. How did you get rid of it?
Oh, sold it.
Well, why didn't you say that? Shh. Why didn't you say that to begin with, sir?
No one asked me.
You didn't put this. No one asked you? You have an answer here. There's nowhere in this answer that you say that you sold the stuff.
I just did.
Now you're playing with me. Now you're playing with me. Didn't you think I was going to get to that question?
No, ma'am.
First you say, no, let me tell you what you said. Let me tell you what, I don't know who signed this Maybe it was your wife that signed the answer. I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm speaking. Listen, I'm an ecumenical abuser. This is the answer. You both signed this answer.
Right.
He took everything but a piece of carpet he claims is worth $5,000.
Right.
We do not have any of the boys' band equipment because Tyler took everything. You point to one place in this answer where you say you sold any of the equipment. Just point to a place. Don't speak. Point.
Right here.
I'd like to give her this paper. We sold this.
I want to see where he's pointing, Bird.
The carpet.
Now you're playing with me. Now you're in trouble. Now you don't get your $800 because now you're a big fat liar. Now you're a big fat liar. And I don't condone what they did, but they're stupid, idiot teenagers. And you're just a stupid idiot, but dishonest. But dishonest. Because if there was anywhere in here that said, look, we held on to their equipment for 6 months, then I sold it. I sold 6 pieces of equipment, made up my rent and then some, but he got his drums back. That's an answer.
Okay.
But here you say he took everything but a piece of carpet. But that's a lie. He couldn't take everything but a piece of carpet because you sold some of his stuff. What did you sell and where and to whom? I go further than just the what did you sell, where and to whom?
2 amplifiers I sold.
Yeah. To whom?
Pawn shop.
How much did you get for it?
$300.
I want receipts for your equipment. This is a receipt. This is Guitar Center. This you get off the internet. That I don't want. I want receipts for your equipment.
Some of the equipment we buy at like pawn shops, so we can't get receipts from them. That's just showing how much it's worth.
Yeah, I'm not giving you how much it's worth. I'm giving you what you paid for it.
I don't have the receipts where we buy at pawn shops.
How much did you pay for it?
Altogether? For all the equipment? I'm guessing, you know, $4,500, $46.
Try two. Now, you got your $800 back. You probably sold more equipment than you had to tell me because you didn't tell me you sold any. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. Thank you, and thank you, officer, for coming.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
They were having hard times, and we thought, give them a shot.
Well, yeah, they were nice people. You know, they were trying to help me out and everything.
It was good to help them. That's why we did it.
But, I mean, most of what they were saying were lies.
I came home, and he was taking stuff out of the house.
They did yell at me. They did spit in my face.
I shut the door, moved him out of the way, shut the door.
You know, it was just a big mess.
Said, you can't be taking stuff out of the house, not yours.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Gasper versus Hall Gonzalez. Step forward, please.
Richard Gasper is suing Ryan Scott Hall and his girlfriend, 23-year-old Tiara Gonzalez, for the return of money he paid for a Toyota Camry. Scott says he sold the car as is.
Mr. Gasper, how old are you, sir?
51.
You want your money back for a 20-year-old car that you purchased from the defendants?
Yes, ma'am.
I asked you how old you were because I assumed that you've owned many cars in your life.
Yes.
Where did you see this car advertised?
On Craigslist.
And you sent the defendants the full amount of the sale price of the car before you saw the car?
Yes, ma'am.
And how much did you send them?
$1,500.
And anyway, you want your money back?
Correct.
I want to see the ad that was placed on Craigslist.
Your Honor, we don't have the ad. We did petition Craigslist for the ad, but they said they could not give it to us without a subpoena.
Don't tell me what they said. Do you have the ad?
No, I don't.
Do you?
No.
Okay. This car was not an antique. It was just a 20-year-old car.
Correct.
Did it indicate how many miles were on the car?
I believe...
In the ad?
Yes, it did.
How many miles were on the car?
101,000.
And you paid $1,500 for the
Yes.
car? Okay. How far away from the defendants do you live?
About a 4-hour drive.
Could you explain to me why you think that even if you didn't like the condition of the car when you got there, you think you're entitled to the return of your money?
Well, other than the condition, Your Honor, which was not as described.
I don't know how it was described, sir.
Okay.
I don't know how it was described, other than it's a 20-year-old car. It did
Correct.
say that.
Yes, it did. Yeah.
And
we got down there to get the car, to pick it up, and Mr. Hall could not meet us. He said he was busy.
But you took the car.
Right. The car.
Who has the car now?
He still has the car.
You have the car.
No, ma'am.
Where is the car?
It was actually donated.
Show me.
Show you.
Show me that you donated it. You get a receipt when you donate a car.
I didn't actually do the donation. Actually, I gave the car to my brother. My brother donated it because we had to have the car removed from the property that it was at.
Show me. You know, I don't like when people are dishonest. I don't like dishonest people. But you, Mr. Hall, are playing it so dishonest that I don't trust anything that you say to me, sir. And if you took back possession of the car and either sold it or kept it, you got to give him his money back. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500. Get him out of here.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Yeah, it's case number 579 on the calendar in the matter of Kehoe versus Rogers.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Mrs. Kehoe, you rented a room to this young man who had, I gather, been thrown out of your house when he was 18. Is that a fair statement?
Correct.
And I assume that he was told to leave his parents' home because he wasn't behaving appropriately.
Correct.
What was the nature of his social transgression?
Just too much partying, problems in school.
Did he have problems with drinking?
Yes.
Did he have problems with drugs?
Pot, yes.
And you thought it could better be handled in somebody else's home?
I've had a wife and a daughter there also. It was just time for him to leave.
When did he leave your house?
3 days after his 18th birthday.
Which was when?
February 10th.
Of 2007. How did you find Mrs. Kehoe's house?
I went to school with her son, Blake Kehoe.
Did you party with him?
Yeah, quite frequently.
You drink?
I'm not Blake.
Who are you?
I'm Parker.
You're another son?
Yes.
How old are you?
16.
Where's your older brother?
At home.
At home?
Yes.
Did he have problems with drugs or alcohol, Mrs. Kehoe?
I would say no, not to my knowledge.
Well, if he didn't have problems with drugs and alcohol, why in the world would you take in a boy who did have problems with drugs and alcohol?
Well, at the time I met Daniel, I didn't know that he had problems with drugs or alcohol.
Didn't it strike you as odd that he was asked to leave his own home when he was 18?
Actually, he had been living with someone else. It wasn't right directly after he came out. He had lived with someone else.
Yes or no? It doesn't make a difference whether he had an interim place that makes it even worse. So he was thrown out of his own house when he was 18. Then he went and lived someplace else. That didn't work out. What I want to know is, didn't it occur to you to call his father and say, what's with your 18-year-old?
Actually, at the time, no, because Daniel had made lots of comments about his father that were probably not the nicest of comments, so I didn't see any reason to...
And you believed him?
Yeah, I did. I'm sorry. I did.
In any event, this is what your case is about, Ms. Keogh. You want $5,000 because you say that this young man, while he was drunk, took a golf cart that belonged to you, crashed it, damaged it severely, was taken to a repair shop. The repairs were $4,000. This young man did, in fact, pay towards those repairs how much?
$1,500.
And then he stopped paying. His father says, and he says, that you allowed alcohol to be served in your home. That's one of the reasons he was drunk when he got the golf cart, that you should have at least partial responsibility for serving alcohol or allowing alcohol to be served to minors who are living in your household, even if they are paying tenants. Mr. Rogers says you should be partially responsible yourself. What I don't understand, let's get to this part. What's your first name?
Daniel.
Let's say, Daniel, that you think Mrs. Keogh should be partially responsible and that the cost to fix the golf cart was $4,000. Why did you only pay $1,500?
I was trying to pay it back. I kept on paying it back, but then they finished the repairs on the golf cart, and then they said that they wanted all the money right then and there. So I went and I applied for a credit card or whatever just to pay off the rest of the fee. It was like another $3,000 for the remaining balance. And so I didn't get approved right now the way the economy is, me being 19. And so they put a mechanic's lien on it and they sold it. So therefore,
They didn't sell it.
Well, that's what they told me, and they refused to accept payments.
They refused to accept any more money.
Yeah, my $100 payment a week, $400 a month. I only make $10 an hour, so.
And you were, in fact, paying.
Yeah, every week.
And it was your intention to pay the entire repair bill.
Yes, it was, originally.
Oh, well, so then I don't quite understand your answer. If it was your intention to continue to pay the other $3,000 because you felt responsible, correct?
Yeah, correct.
What changed your mind?
Well, they sold the golf cart. Well, they told me they were selling it, so I called Sherry and I asked her if I could pay her the $100 a week, just start over, and she refused, and then I got served. So that's what I'm doing here.
Oh, I see. Well, that changes the whole defense. You're ready to pay the money to get
well,
the golf cart.
not necessarily anymore after going through all this.
But that's what you promised her.
Yeah,
Is that right,
originally.
Mr. Rogers? You told her you would pay for it.
Originally.
Yeah. Well, that was your agreement. And the only reason you didn't pay her is because you didn't get approved for a credit card.
Yeah, well, no, I called her and asked her if I could pay the $100 a week to her, $400 a month out of my check every week, and she refused.
Why did you refuse?
I could not pay the $100 to the golf cart company. They refused to take any more money except for a total amount. And I felt that if I was to accept the money from Daniel, I would not be able to get my golf cart back. So that's...
May I speak?
What do you have to do with this?
I was the one who came upon the golf cart. It was partially my golf cart.
It
That's
can't
what
be
I
partially
drove
your golf
around.
cart. A year ago, you were 15 years old.
That's what I drove around. We live in a gated community.
And?
And kids drive those around quite often. That's what they use, and I golf and stuff. When Randy and Daniel were the ones talking to the golf cart repair company, making all the payments, and they had agreed that they were going to make payments up until when the golf cart was done and finished. And then at that point, if the full amount had not been paid, his dad would pay in full, and he would have Daniel pay him back.
So?
No, never agreed to that.
So?
Yes, he did.
Who did the father make that agreement with?
He made that agreement with the owner of Prestige.
You can't tell me that. That person isn't here. That's hearsay.
Okay.
It's hearsay, but there's a statement.
I don't read statements.
Fine.
We're in a court.
Fine.
We're in a court. How much is owed on the golf cart?
The total to replace the golf cart right
I'm
now...
not replacing the golf cart. Did Daniel get beer in your house, Mrs. Keogh?
Not to my knowledge, ma'am. I did not hand Daniel ever
I didn't
any
ask
beer.
you whether you handed Daniel
I had
anything.
beer in my home in my refrigerator.
Okay. You say there's a vending machine, Daniel?
Yes.
So explain to me the vending machine.
There's a vending machine downstairs full of beer, 4 different 30-packs.
And what was the vending machine for, Miss Keogh?
It is an antique vending machine, ma'am.
Was it full of beer?
Not full of beer. It had 2 beers, it had tons of sodas, and it had all kinds of snacks and candy.
It had beer in it.
Yes, it did.
All right. And who was the beer for?
My guests who come to my house, I live on a lake, and they come in through the bottom. And
But it was available, and it was clearly the beer that he drank and got drunk when he drove your golf cart.
That's not true. He wasn't in my house at all that day drinking. He was
Where
on
were
a
you
pontoon
drinking?
boat with somebody else.
Where were you
I
drinking?
was on a pontoon boat in the lake, yeah.
Where'd you get the beer from?
Well, I got some from the vending machine, and I had some that I just had obtained some with somebody.
What does that mean? Are you giving me the business? Don't
No,
give
I'm
me
not
the
giving you
business.
the business.
I don't like stupid, and I don't like the business. Do you understand?
Yes.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Cheryl Kehoe says her son's former friend, Daniel Rogers, stole her golf cart and crashed it.
You were on a pontoon boat. Where did you get the beer from?
The vending machine.
I don't believe you.
No, I got it from the vending machine.
I don't believe you.
I did.
No, I don't believe you. Where's the other place you got the beer from?
I just had it.
What do you mean you just had it?
I don't really recall it that much. I was a little inebriated.
You got where I'm going?
Yeah.